In this world, there's a fusion of games and reality, and also different classes, countless tombs, dungeons, and monsters. When killing these monsters, everyone gets experience points, materials, new equipment, and other things. However, no matter how ferocious the monster, it will never compare to the awe-inspiring one. Mystical and rare, possessing unfathomable power. A dragon. At this time, at the Third Lungo Academy, the teacher said that he had an urgent announcement. The teacher said that today's sorting ceremony will not only affect their ability to enter university, but also their future development. First of all, they must be confident in themselves, even though the results do not depend on them. And if they are strong in spirit, there will be a chance to get a combat class. One of the students, hearing this, was glad that this day had finally come. It had been 3 years since he, Lu Fan, came here from the Blue Star. After 3 years of living, he had become more aware of this world. In this, 3 main groups of classes can be distinguished. At the top are the combat classes, such as warriors, mages, archers, and others. This class has powerful abilities for exploring dungeons and collecting loot. Everyone dreams of being among them. In the middle are the enhancement classes, such as the sorcerer, healers, and others of that sort. They can create special items that have powerful effects, but the materials are expensive to buy, so only the rich can afford them. And finally, at the very bottom are the common people, cooks, herbalists, miners, and the like. They are forced to live an ordinary life, working hard to feed themselves. His Aunt Han Ku is an excellent cook. She has to work hard in a small bakery to pay for his education. She's only 8 years older than him, but she supports him in every way. He sees how hard she tries to survive in this world and provide his aunt with a good life. And now he must become the best warrior. But suddenly the principal called the teacher and gave him information. The teacher answered him that he understood everything. The teacher, with a smile on his face, told the students that the sorting ceremony would begin very soon. It was time to move out. All the students were very happy and started to move forward. The teacher approached Fan and asked what was wrong with him. He was the best in the class, so he shouldn't worry so much. Suddenly, a system appeared before his eyes and said that they congratulated him. The Super Treasure Map system was successfully activated. Fan didn't understand what was going on. The teacher asked if the boy could hear him. The boy came to his senses and answered that he could. Fan apologized to the teacher and started to run away, shouting that he was already running. He was happy about this and understood that this world could not be explored without a system. But he was worried about something else. What use would it be? And he decided that he would think about it later. He needed to go through the distribution now. The students gathered in front of the big palace and said in surprise that this was a distribution crystal. They were seeing it in real life for the first time. The students looked and said that if only they would assign him to a combat class. Power. Glory. The guy asked his friend at that moment if he believed in fairy tales. There aren't many representatives of the fighting class at school. He'll be happy with anything, just not the third. The teacher said that they're starting the sorting ceremony. This priest will be conducting today's ceremony. The students asked, "Is this the specialist in charge of distribution?" Fan realized that the combat classes were indeed different. The system immediately popped up and said that a new skill, Identification Eye, had been acquired. Fan wondered what kind of identification this was. Fan opened the system and seeing the Reaper class, he realized that it turned out that he could see information about a person. But when he saw the Reaper's bill, he was even more surprised, because how could his bill be 5 million? The teacher got angry and ordered everyone to be quiet. He said that the students whose names he called must come out here. Fan looked at the system all this time and understood that his aunt would never earn so much money making steamed buns. The teacher looked at his list and said, "The name is Zhang Tao." The students were wondering if he would be a combat class, and most likely he has such high skills. Although, of course, the distribution is random, but the cooler the characteristics, the higher the probability of getting into the combat class. All the girls were very happy when they saw him and said, "What a handsome man he is. Let him succeed." The teacher used his ball and decided to show which class he would belong to. Suddenly, a fiery light appeared. The students were shocked and said that this was a magician's fireball, like a Rudo. And Zhang Tao is really in the combat class. They are so jealous of him, and now he has a bright future. Their brother is so cool. Fan thought that becoming a fighter would be a way to say goodbye to ordinary life. The teacher suddenly got angry and told everyone to shut up. Fan looked at all the participants and said that it seemed like only a few people got into the combat classes, and being assigned to a combat class meant a bright future. And the rest of them are forced to live a mediocre life. The guy standing in front of him said that it wasn't that bad. Let him look at Li Ping from the third group. Her family was already barely making ends meet, and she was assigned to the class with the highest expenses. And it's better to pursue a career, at least you have the skills. Fan knew in his head that his family was also in financial trouble. What if he got an expensive class? Suddenly, the teacher invited Lu Fan to the stone. People asked if he was there. Fan heard his name and said that he was there. When the girls saw him, they shouted that he was also a handsome man, and now they would see who he would be. Fan approached the stone and understood that he was at the finish line. There was no point in being nervous. But suddenly Fan saw a dark red light, and he thought it was very strange. And then an eye appeared in front of him. People were asking, "What kind of earthquake is this?" And suddenly they started saying, "It's a giant dragon. He got a dragon, and it's some kind of hidden class." The student asked the teacher, "This is the first student in the history of their school who knocked out the hidden class. He is from them." The teacher replied that if he really entered the hidden class, he would become a dragon blood warrior or a dragon mage. The teacher was very happy to see this and said that then he would become the strongest and go down in history. The teacher looked at this and said that for 10 years no one had received a hidden class, and now he is the best in Lungo. Fan showed his abilities, and everyone was very surprised. The teacher asked him, "Is he a dragon blood warrior or a magician?" Fan looked at his hands and replied that he was a dragon tamer. Everyone was surprised, and the teacher asked that such a fight had happened. But how? The teacher got angry and asked him how he could get the most useless thing from the hidden class. After being assigned, Fan went to his old city, Jianghai. On the way home, he looked at the characteristics of his system. He saw that his class was a dragon tamer, and his score was 239. But the words of the students did not leave his head. The students told him that he would probably have to live a normal life, because humans couldn't tame such a powerful creature. And even though he was a hidden class, he was the weakest. The guy asked his friend, "The weakest? Isn't the dragon tamer a hidden class along with the dragon blood warrior and dragon mage?" His friend answered him that of course, but where to look for a dragon, not to mention tame it. The teacher told him that it was okay, boy. After all, it was a hidden class, unlimited potential, and maybe he could tame some sub-dragons and become the strongest. Fan thought, how can he become the strongest? How can a dragon tamer have unlimited potential without a dragon? Sub-dragons, these ferocious beasts, are nothing compared to dragons. But for the last 800 years, not a single one has been seen, not a single tamer has tamed one. And no matter how powerful people are, they are just ants in front of dragons, and trying to tame them is like believing in a miracle. Not to mention, without a dragon, he wouldn't even be able to unlock skills. His auntie works so hard to give him the better future, and he wouldn't be able to repay her in kind. Arriving at the bakery, he thought that after the distribution, he immediately rushed home. Entering the bakery, he told his aunt that he was back. The aunt's name was Han Ku, and she was a simple cook. She immediately hugged him and said that her nephew had come. Ku said that today was an important day for her. And how? What grade did he get? Fan decided to tell like it was. Ku told him that it was okay if it wasn't a combat class. She would be very worried if he went out to fight every day. Fan told Annie that no. She was a dragon tamer, and this was a class where you couldn't get far without a dragon. Ku was not upset and told him that it was okay. This once again proved that their Xiao Fan was very strong. If he goes to university, she will support him. And if he doesn't want to, she can sell buns with him. Fan tried to tell her something, but Ku decided to change the subject and told him to eat quickly. The guy replied that there was so much food, he couldn't fit it all in. Fan lay down on the sofa after a hard day and said that his aunt was only 26. She had worked and built a career all her life. He just wants to provide him and his aunt with a good life. But can't he do that just because he became a dragon tamer? He doesn't want to give up. If there were no dragons, there would be no class either. But where should he look for it? Suddenly, the system opened up in front of him and told him that the first treasure map had already been generated. Fan asked in surprise, divine-level treasures? He clearly remembers when this system first appeared. It was called the Super Treasure Card System. But today, he only managed to try out the identification system. He still hadn't figured out the treasures. Fan made up his mind and opened the chest. Opening the chest, Fan saw that he had 3 identical low-grade treasure maps, and they combined into a treasure map of a higher level. The system said that a treasure map of a random level and location will be given out daily. Just let him take it and get the treasures of their class. Fan understood that the treasures of his class, the Dragon Tamer, was the weakest class because it was almost impossible to tame a dragon. But if he uses this system effectively, he can get out of the weaklings and become strong. In other words, this is a divine-level treasure map, and it is his last hope. And if he gives in now, he will live at the bottom for the rest of his life and will not be able to repay his aunt. We need to act. A map opened up in front of him, and he said, Rocky Plain, it's not that far from Jianghai. All he had to do was catch the last commuter bus at night and be there in the morning. But earlier in the morning, Ke got up and saw a letter on the table. In the letter, Fan wrote to his aunt that he was going to go to the Rocky Plain, so she shouldn't worry. Maybe this is his chance to change the fate of the Dragon Tamer. Everything will be fine, and soon he will return. Fan promised her that he would soon make their lives better, and so he reached the edge of the Rocky Plain. But suddenly someone pushed him, and raising his head, he saw a huge man. But the girl next to him was nice and greeted him. Fan immediately took a stance to attack. But by this time a man came up to him from behind and asked if he would go with them. Fan hid his hand and said no. He thought maybe they were material hunters. The girl showed him the knife and told him to think again. The man continued that it was too dangerous for such a young man to stay alone in the desert overnight. Fan immediately realized that they wanted to rob him. Well, of course, killing people and robbing them is easy. The man asked if he had thought about it. Fan immediately realized that they were going to attack, and he decided to get ready. The man asked him again if he would go with them. Fan replied that he would not. He had already said so. The man said he couldn't survive in the wild. This night would be more dangerous than he thought. Fan understood that he didn't have any skills yet. He had to avoid something like that. Fan said he was a summoner. He didn't need companions. If he was in danger, he would just summon creatures. Everyone was surprised, and the man said that it seemed like they were worrying about him for nothing, and they decided to go separately. But the girl came up to him and said that they would meet again, and said goodbye by sending him a fiery kiss. Fan understood that even though it wasn't as safe outside, it was still better than being with these thugs. He felt that his strength was waning. He needed to go faster. Entering the forest, he saw a herd of antelopes, all 8 levels. Fan understood that, of course, people weren't attacked just like that, but it was still beyond his strength. And after that, he decided to go around. But even though he made a big circle for safety reasons, it didn't become safer. On the way, he saw wild horns, and all of them were level 7. And he needs to go faster without even attracting attention. But suddenly he stepped on a frog, which immediately screamed in pain. The wild horns immediately looked at him with their angry eyes. The wild horns saw him and immediately chased after him. But Fan knew that they would kill him if he did not run away. So he had to run with all his might. He picked the right moment to jump out of the way and save his life. He understood that he couldn't even mess with the timid antelope now. Otherwise, he would end up like that frog. Suddenly, the system came out and said that the location of the treasure map has been reached. Fan was happy that he finally found it. This is the place from the map. Entering the rock, he understood that this must change his destiny as a dragon tamer. And in front of him stands a dragon egg that is cracking. The system immediately made an analysis and showed that it was a black dragon egg. He saw that the shell was cracking, and the dragon was about to emerge. But suddenly he felt that there was someone behind him, and he immediately pulled out his knife, because he had a difficult adventure, because animals were everywhere. Fan struck to protect the egg. When he saw the beast, he immediately realized that it was a bloodthirsty gray fox, and she sank her teeth into the knife. Fan felt that she was strong, but in that moment he released his energy and hit her in the face. Fan looked at the beast and saw that it was triple strike and bloodthirsty recovery. So it attacks 3 times, causes bleeding, and then restores health. Fan looked at the egg and saw that he couldn't handle it. Now all he had to do was wait for the dragon to hatch, and then use the dragon tamer technique. But suddenly Fan felt that she was so fast. Something had to be done, but the fox was fast and scratched him. But the guy understood that the main thing was not to miss 3 blows and not let her recover. Having taken 3 blows, he picked a moment and delivered a crushing attack. The system immediately showed that the bloodthirsty gray fox had been defeated. Fan was very happy that he was able to protect the egg. But suddenly those guys came up from behind, and the man said, mocking him, that he had finished off the beast. Fan said that they were following him or something. He told them in plain language that he would not go with them. The girl looked and told the guy not to be so nervous. He even fooled them. The man said that the boy told them that he was a summoner. But then why doesn't he use his skills to deal with such a simple opponent? Fan threw the face in front of their feet and said that if you want the skin, let them take it. Stop pestering him. The man started laughing and told the boy that he was so funny. After all, this skin only costs 80 coins. How many of these does he think he needs to feed himself? The man showed his eyes to the egg and said that they want it. But Fan immediately stood up for the egg. Fan immediately realized that they were such impudent people. They wanted to steal his dragon egg. The girl and the big man immediately pounced on him. He missed the first blow from Yambao right away. The girl immediately pounced on him and put a knife to his head. She told him not to move, otherwise she would scratch him. The man saw this and started laughing. He said that he clearly underestimated the nose of treasure hunters. At this time, the big man took the egg in his hands and shouted with joy for them to see. The man replied that they had done a good job, and then let them kill him. The girl stayed with him and said that it was a pity, but they still had to say goodbye. Fan realized that this was his only chance. He couldn't let them take him away. But suddenly he saw that the egg suddenly broke and a dragon flew out of it, which began to circle above them. The man asked, "What kind of creature is this?" Fan immediately realized what kind of creature it was. But the man threw a potion at him and told him to get out of here. But the creature dodged the attack and attacked the largest one. And releasing energy into it, he killed it with 1 blow. The man realized that he couldn't handle it and started running away in fear. Fan said that he didn't think that newly hatched dragons could be like that. And now it's clear why no one could tame them. The girl asked, "Dragon?" What did he blurt out? Was it really a dragon egg? But suddenly the dragon stood in front of them and looked. Fan punched her and said that they have a bad nose for treasure. This is what will happen if you try to take his dragon. Fan rushed at his dragon and told him to come to his master. The girl asked him who he was. Fan asked, "He wants to know who he is?" He is not a summoner. He is a dragon tamer. The system told him right away that a contract had been made with a black dragon. The girl asked him to let it go. She didn't know. It was a dragon egg. Fan asked her how many people she killed for the treasure. The girl replied that she didn't kill anyone. Fan told her to go to her friends. The dragon immediately pounced on her. After that, Fan said that he finally dealt with them. He couldn't believe that the dragon was so frisky, and he rose from the very bottom to the top. He was just born and already so powerful. He can't imagine what they will do with him when he grows up. Fan hugged his dragon and said that very soon, the dragon tamer will no longer be the weakest class. But suddenly Fan thought what to call him. He began to go through all the names and think what to call him. But suddenly the dragon in Fan's hands began to move, and he asked him to stop. And he asked what he was doing. Fan saw that red magic appeared, which he did not understand. seeing that the dragon turned into a girl. He asked what happened. Fan said that it turns out that she can also turn into a human. He looked at the system and saw that everything was exactly as he thought. After taming, all skills were unlocked. Dragon Impulse increases all characteristics and attack power of the owner and pet by 30%. The attack bonus is much cooler than that of the same priest. And the Dragon Bite is a high damage attack, and the Dragon Claw turns your hand into a dragon's paw. So cool. And not to mention the Black Dragon. Its stats are 5 to 6 times that of humans. Now it can withstand any combat class. His first level, and such skills, and the characteristics are high. People even at level 20 can't compare with him. And the blood connection doubled his stats. No wonder he felt stronger after being tamed. Fan understood that there were 3 powerful hidden classes, and no matter how powerful the class, it had no chance against a dragon tamer. And without a doubt, a tamer is the strongest. He saw that she could take human form, but her habits were still those of an animal. Fan asked her what to call her. Fan thought that she was a little black dragon born at dawn, and asked her what her name was Xiao, but the dragon began to laugh. Fan saw it, and said that it seemed like she liked the name, and although the treasure hunt was dangerous, he succeeded. He asked Xiao if she was hungry, but Xiao didn't answer and just growled. Fan said it was time to hunt wild monsters to feed her. Fan looked at the sky and realized that he needed to slowly return. Very soon, there would be a test that would determine whether he could enter the university. He knew that the title of master and the qualification to enter the best university were just around the corner. But no matter how you look at it, leveling up and mastering skills were still a priority. Fan told Xiao that they were going deep into the rocky plain, and there were a lot of delicious monsters here. But suddenly Xiao looked to the side and saw that the herd was heading in their direction. Fan immediately saw that these were plain hyenas. They are much more dangerous and hardier than the bloodthirsty fox. Fan understood that even though he had defeated the fox, he had suffered greatly and could not engage in battle with them. Otherwise, it would be the end for him. Fan saw that Xiao was happy and told them to destroy them. He understood that now this rocky plain was nothing for the strongest tamer and his dragon. And there are no more dangers. Xiao inflated her belly at this moment and splashed her flames at the animals. Fan looked and realized that this was great. In order to level up faster, he needed to defeat a tough monster. Fan told her not to worry. There was only one big guy left there, who had been waiting for them for a long time. Suddenly, a 3-headed blood lion emerged from the dust, and its level was level 25. He understood that in order to approach and engage in battle with it, an ordinary person would need a whole team. Fan told Xiao to attack. The dragon heard the order and roared, but he noticed that the roar of the 3 heads roared at the same time, increasing their defense and attack power for a while. Then came the triple flame. The flames from the 3 mouths gather into a fireball, dealing area damage. It takes some time to recharge. Fan told her that they needed to work together to interrupt his skill, and used a jaw attack. She bites the target while rushing at high speed, causing continuous bleeding damage. But the 3-headed lion interrupted his skill. Fan also decided to participate in the battle, and seeing this, he was happy. Then he used Dragon Bite. She absorbs the dragon's energy to deliver a powerful blow. Fan looked and said it was done. What a cool monster it was. He raised so many levels with it. After leveling up, the system said that the treasure map system has been activated. The treasure map has been sent. Fan said there's another treasure map. I wonder if there'll be something exclusive to the tamer? Fan told Xiao that it was time for them to look for treasure. The little dragon was very happy and flew after him. Far away in the rocky plain, the lady asked Uncle Ge, would they really just let such a rare opportunity slip away? Go answer the lady that they can't do anything about it. To open this dungeon, at least 5 people are needed, and they don't have that many. And he suggests going back to the city and bringing a couple more people. Kai Er, a combat class rogue, said no. The round trip would take at least a day. Chiu said that the Opportunity Dungeon had much higher rewards than other copies, but it would only be open for 24 hours. If they wasted a day, it would be too late. Gu told the lady not to worry. With his strength, they would be able to open so many such dungeons. Xiao told her uncle that it was just very offensive. But suddenly Gu pulled out his blade and asked who was coming. Fan told him not to worry so much. He was just passing by. Gu told him that this was no place for treasure hunters. But Xiao stopped him and said that they were from Jiangzai City and introduced themselves, and asked if she could ask him for something. Xiao asked if he could team up with them for a while. No need to do anything. Just let him enter the dungeon of opportunity with them. After passing, they would pay him 100,000 dragon coins. How could he like that? Fan thought at this moment, a dungeon of opportunities? And 100,000 coins? He understood that the Qin family, the richest in Jianghai, was asking him to go into the dungeon with them, and the rewards there should be rare. Xiao said that they just need to gather the necessary number of people to enter there. He won't have to do anything. He'll get his 100,000 without any effort. Gu said that such an opportunity was not lying around, and he said that it was time to go. Fan replied that he was not very interested in money, so they would cooperate according to the rules. Er asked if he meant distributing rewards based on strength. Fan replied that he did. Xiao knew that their average level was around 20, and he looked the weakest. Was he really that confident, or was he just arrogant? Xiao extended her hand and said that it was fine. If he wanted, they would form a team according to all the rules. They would pay the money they had promised earlier as a sign of their sincerity. Fan shook hands and said it was a deal. Xiao said great, then they could go. Fan understood that if some strangers found out about Xiao, there would be a lot of problems, and he decided that he would take pity on her, let her rest, and he himself would take all the rewards of this dungeon. After passing through the portal, the system said that this is a dungeon of possibilities, and this is a village of sorrow. Xiao said it was too quiet, not a single sound except their voices. Er replied that the air was heavy and there seemed to be no sign of life. Gu turned to him and said that his hands were not busy. Did he not have equipment and weapons? Fan thought it was funny and thought, what other equipment and weapons? He immediately logged in and took the epic black dragon sword. He remembered that after defeating the three-headed lion, the treasure map finally gave him the ability to replace his beginner machete. Gu told him that he had such a cool weapon. He thought he was a treasure hunter at first, but he seems to be a simple student who just got a grade. Er asked why he cared about him. They were just cooperating. She would know right away if he was up to no good. Suddenly, rotten zombies started coming out of the ground, and they were all on level 15. Fan saw them all fighting and realized that one of them was a knight, one was a warrior, and one was a bandit. A very reasonable team composition, especially this level 28 Song Ge. Xiao also did not stand aside and used her divine light rain attack, and the system immediately showed what it was. A rain of divine light deals significant damage to enemy targets within the radius and heals an equal amount of allies. Xiao said that this was the specialty of his hidden class, Holy Light Mage, the ability to combine attack with healing. But of course, the attack damage is lower than that of a regular mage, and the healing is not as good as that of a priest. Fan realized that he understood now. Another hidden class, divine attack damage, was very effective against zombies. Fan saw immediately that the other monsters had woken up. Judging by the sounds, there were a lot of them. He immediately saw that the zombie was level 20. Gu said that this is a personal monster. He ordered Air to protect the lady and this boy, and Jia should go with him. They won't let these pieces of rotten meat pass. Gu and Jia decided to protect them. Gu immediately used Midnight Execution, while Jia used Stab. But suddenly Jia asked what's going on. Why won't his sword be drawn? The system said the zombies used corpse poison, and any attack infects the target with corpse poison, causing the victim to constantly lose hit points and the zombie to heal itself. Jia asked, how is this possible? Fan immediately realized that this is corpse poison. To get rid of it, he needs the priest's skill clarity. Even Qin Xiao can help him here. Suddenly Jia was in danger and asked Brother Song to help him. Gu ordered him to throw down his sword. Gu ordered Air to go to the front row. Let her protect against zombies. But Fan said that there was no need to disturb her, let her leave it to him. Go was very scared and asked him, "Is he crazy? Let him leave immediately, because they will kill him now." But Fan was not afraid and immediately attacked with his knife. Everyone was very surprised, because the guy showed a different side of himself. Fan finished off all the zombies and said that's it, time to move on. Go couldn't believe it and asked what level he was. How could a student who had just received a grade be so strong? Chio shouted to Jia that she would help him now. Fan said that he was just a level 14 student. There was no need for him to lie to them. He came to the plane to practice before an important exam. Chio came over and said that it was an important exam, and his level was almost the same. She was surprised because he was level 14, and his attack power was 28 higher than Uncle G's. But suddenly a zombie attacked her, and Air managed to run up to protect her mistress. But Fan ran faster than her and killed that zombie with his big sword. He said that each new zombie's level is higher. He will be the attacker in the front row. Does everyone agree? Chio immediately thought, maybe he is the one who was rumored in Jianghai recently? She agreed and said that it would be as he wished. She and Uncle Gu would lead the team. She would take care of Brother Jia, and Sister Kai Air would be behind. He must be in the village. Fan told her to call him by name, and went ahead himself and told them not to lag behind. Chio thought, could it be Li Fan? They say he got the Dragon Tamer class. But that can't be. Would he be so strong then? Continuing their journey, they reached the Dungeon of Possibilities, the Village of Sorrow. But here they were raided. Fan knew that Chio couldn't remove the corpse poison, and the portal they came for would only appear after defeating the secret guard. Now he had to act quickly, otherwise this guy would die here and turn into a zombie. Air said that there was no trace of the boss in the village. Something was fishy here. Jia shouted at him to be careful from behind. But Chio shouted to Brother Jia to hold on. Turning back, they saw monsters heading towards them. Air looked and said, "Here is their boss." The zombie started screaming and saying, "Here is fresh blood and flesh." Fan saw and understood that Xiao Jia's corpse poisoning was so severe that this piece of iron could swallow him up. Fan shouted at them that they had to defeat him quickly. Otherwise, he might merge with Xiao Jia. Gu immediately attacked him and used Midnight Execution. But suddenly he was surprised and asked why it didn't work. Fan also pounced and said that if he was about to absorb Xiao Jia, there was no time for a slow attack. At the moment of Fan's attack, the system came out and showed that he had steel skin. Entering this state, the zombie increases defense and endurance by 40%. Fan realized that there were still a few blows left. He had dragon blood armor, but the boss repeated that he would now have fresh and hot blood and flesh. The system showed that the preparation of the fusion skill absorbs the target and merges it with itself, increasing the health bar. Fan pounced and shouted at Chio to help him, and let Uncle Gu protect Jia and Air. The system showed that the dragon blood armor, the black dragon sword, has a special effect that allows the owner to partially transform into a dragon, increasing strength. Chio said that she understood everything, while Fan used the dragon claw, turning his hand into a dragon paw. The strength depends on the strength of the pet. While the Rain of Divine Light deals divine damage to enemy targets in the radius and heals the same amount of allies. Air asked the guys if it was starting to fall apart. Gu replied that it looked like this iron giant needed a merger to maintain its shape. Fan looked and said that then he should be finished off. Gu knew that in all the years he had been with the Qin family, he had seen many masters, and he could definitely tell that this guy had a hidden class. But the boss said again that he needed blood and flesh. And Fan pounced on him and said that the true form was appearing. The guy pounced on the boss and told his men to leave him to him. Hitting him with his fist, he told him to fall to his knees. Air asked in surprise, the boss was defeated? Chio thought he had such a powerful skill. She had never seen anything like it. He killed a level 20 boss with one hit. What is he? The system immediately showed that they had found a level 20 treasure chest. Chio told the boy that as they had agreed, the rewards would be distributed according to the rules. They had underestimated him before, and she apologized. Gu told the guy that he would have definitely been able to get through this dungeon alone, but now it seemed like they were superfluous here. Fan replied to Lord Uncle Gu that he would leave the distribution of rewards to Qin Shio's discretion. Opening the chest, the system said that this is a consumable for the elixir of strength, and the effect is the value of strength by 2 points after use. Air said that these are the rewards in the hidden dungeon of opportunities. Gu replied that overall it's not that bad, right? Fan thought that there was no way that the level 20 hidden opportunity dungeon would have such rewards. Chiu told Uncle to quickly give the antidote to Brother Jia. Chiu approached the boy and said that he deserved it all, and she asked her take it. Fan was glad that the people in the Qin family were so upright. Gave him the medicine and asked if he was feeling better. Jia didn't answer him and just sighed in pain and fatigue. But suddenly Chiu said that it was very strange. They had defeated the boss, but the portal was nowhere to be seen. Air suggested that they look around a bit. But Fan sensed something and told them not to disperse yet. And the Iron Zombie wasn't the boss. Gu asked, where did he get that from? Was he sure? Chiu asked her uncle. As a divine light mage, she really could still feel the darkness and pointed her hand towards the lakeshore. Gu replied that if the lady said so, then the real boss must be somewhere nearby. The dungeon is not small. Perhaps they missed this place when they entered the village. Suddenly a creature came out of the lake and Fan said, here it is. The system did not recognize it, did not even show what level it was. Gu said that the guy was right. This must be the final boss, and ordered everyone to take cover. Gu tried to stop him, but was defeated. Chiu saw him fly back and became worried about him. But Boss then moved his tentacles towards her. Air got scared and shouted at her to dodge. But Fan did not let her die, and at the cost of his own life, he went to save her and managed to get her aside. Falling to the ground, Air asked the lady if she was okay, but the boss did not leave them and changed the side of the attack. And this time the system showed that this creature is called the Grieving Corpse, and its level is 25. Air said that here was the real boss. Gu ordered Jia to stand behind him and wait for the command. The guy replied that he could fight and block blows. Gu saw the attack coming and said that when he recovers, then he will show off. Fan decided to fight him first and immediately jumped into attack. Gu shouted at him to be careful with him. Fan knew that Uncle Gu and Xiao Jia were barely holding on. He had no choice but to defeat this boss. There was only one way out: destroy his body. The system analyzed the boss and showed that the Grieving Corpse's corpse breath constantly spreads corpse breath to enemies, reducing their stats by 20%. Suddenly, the level and strength of the guys dropped by 20%. They themselves did not even understand that this could happen. But Fan did not give in and decided to finish him off once and for all. Chiu shouted at him to protect himself from the whip. The system showed that the chain whip was lashing the target with chains of the lake, causing massive damage. But the chain was meant for them, and Jia entered the battle to protect the boys with his shield. Fan unexpectedly missed the target at the moment and now understood that if he continued to hesitate, it would be the end for them all. Fan took the knife in his hand and attacked the boss with Dragon Bite, which absorbs the dragon's energy to deal a powerful blow. But the boss responded by using a chain whip, whipping the target with chains of the lake, causing massive damage. Fan was hit by a whip and used his dragon blood armor, which partially turns the player into a dragon and increases his strength. Fan used the attack Dragon Claw Blood Bond, turns the hand into a dragon paw. The strength depends on the strength of the pet, legendary. He was able to destroy the chains with his attack. Gu said that they can't handle this boss. Maybe they should retreat. Chiu told Fan that they are not his opponents. If they stay here, they are finished. Fan ordered his uncle to take Air and the others to safety. Chiu asked, what will he do? Fan replied that he would deal with him. Let them run away quickly. Air told the lady that they had to leave. Chiu thought that she would have to rely on herself again. She couldn't even help in any way. And even without this debuff that reduced stats by 20%, they wouldn't be able to do much. And let the one who can really stand up to the boss wield it. The boss pounced on him, but Fan used a fire gap. Fan told Xiao to get out. It was time to have some fun. and she immediately came out and took the boss's tentacles into her teeth. Jia turned around and asked, "What is this?" Air also asked, "Is this a dragon? Did this kid summon a giant dragon?" Fan used a jaw attack. She bites the target while rushing at high speed, dealing continuous bleeding damage. Boss tried to resist, but the chains grabbed her and pulled her under the water. Air was surprised and asked, "Is that all?" Gu replied that it was terrifying to deal with the boss in 2 blows. Jiu also said that he could see the dragon with his own eyes. Xiao now realized that the person who was the subject of many rumors throughout Zhanghai was the dragon tamer Lu Fan. 300 years ago, a girl was born and raised here, far from danger, until the plague destroyed everything. There were so many bodies that they couldn't even bury them. She desperately wanted to save everyone, but when she changed her class, she became a dark witch. She could not heal the dying, only summon their souls so that the living could say goodbye. One day, the elder ordered his servants to seize her. She is a witch who brings trouble. The church, which once protected them, declared that she brought the plague. The chief ordered them to kill her. The girl did not understand why they did this to her. She asked them why she would harm the village. She just wanted the living to see their dead loved ones one last time. She just wanted to save them all. She let them say goodbye. There was nothing wrong with that. Why did they do that? Air asked that Lu Fan could actually summon a giant dragon. Chiu replied that they could now leave here. Fan said that if the portal didn't appear, it meant that the boss was still alive, and he was afraid that it was too early to leave. Chiu asked why, but suddenly a large creature emerged from the water and summoned a large stream of water behind it. The witch asked them why it was like this. It was them. Air said it was the boss in a new stage. The witch looked at them and said that they couldn't escape, and immediately attacked with a water shell. Air dodged the enemy's first attack and told the others that no attacks worked. Air told the lady that it was the end and asked her for forgiveness. Chiu replied that no, it was she who should apologize, and she insisted on coming here. It's all her fault. Fan said they'd been through so much, and she wants to give up now. Chiu replied that she was the only one who could use magic, but with her low level. Gu replied that the boss was immune to all physical attacks. They couldn't even defend themselves. And Fan asked, "Does he still want to fight?" Fan replied that he couldn't, and opened the system and saw that he had immunity to effects, instant lethal damage, corpse poisoning, bleeding, stunning. And the blood of the black dragon reduces all damage taken by 50%, immunity to all effects, and increases self-healing by 500%. Fan said he couldn't, but his friend could do anything. Air told the dragon tamer that the level difference with the boss was huge. The witch screamed at this moment that it was not her fault. It was not her. Fan told them not to worry. The dragon's power was nothing compared to this. The witch kept telling the boys that they were the ones who killed her. But Fanya got fed up with all this and ordered Xiao to attack with Raging Fire. The Raging Fire spews fire, dealing damage and healing itself. The witch was in a lot of pain and didn't want to die. Jia said that the boss was defeated. Air in turn said that it had become very hot here, and it was just some kind of natural disaster. The witch screamed, as if it were her last, that it was not she, but an evil will, an explosion of malice, awakening all the dead, rang out in the kingdom. The system told the black dragon that she was already at the legendary level, and her level had been raised to 10. Fan congratulated her and said that it was great. Ge looked and said that the portal had finally opened there. Jia looked and said that there was fog. Xiu looked at Air and asked if she was okay. But suddenly they heard someone growling behind them again. Gu said that the village corpses had risen again. Xiao saw the enemies and began to destroy them. Gu saw her above him and did not understand and asked, "What is this?" But Xiao filled her chest with air and aimed her blast at the village corpses, burning them to the last bone. Gu asked in surprise, "Is she a dragon?" Xiu replied that they fought so hard against those zombies, and she killed them all so easily. Fan heard this and said that she was a black dragon and her name was Xiao. For her, these zombies were just a piece of cake. Fan told Xiu that the boss was finished and there was no need to worry. It was time to leave. The portal had already opened. Now, they would only take the rewards. Fan said that according to the rules, he opens the door first. No one objects, he asked. Shio replied that no. How could they object to him? Opening the chest, he found the scepter of divine light, the cloak of twilight, the morning ring, the transfer scroll. Fan picked up the transfer scroll and said that he would take it. The system immediately said that one scroll had been received. Shio told him that it was not necessary to take just one, because according to the rules, all were his. Fan said that he was actually a gentleman, and some equipment would be more suitable for her, and this transfer scroll would be very useful to him. Shio replied that if it weren't for him, they would all probably have died here. Let him take this at least. And she handed him the ring. Fan said that since she asked, he could not refuse her. Go warn the lady that they were ready to leave. Shio was wondering all this time what else Fan hadn't shown them. It was hard to even guess. For hours later, he arrived at Jianghai Bakery. Ko met him and said it was too dangerous. She was afraid to even imagine what he encountered there. Fan asked what was wrong with her. Let her let him go. He was all dirty. Ko said, crying, that he wasn't dirty. He left without saying a word. She hadn't slept for the last few nights, hoping it was all just a dream. She was afraid she'd wake up and he'd be gone. Fan apologized for leaving without saying anything. No need to worry. She wouldn't have to worry about him anymore. Fan told Annie to stop crying. Ko replied that she was so surprised when she first saw Xiao, and she actually turned out to be such a cutie in the body of a powerful dragon. Ko said that Xiao must have not eaten well in the past few days. Could she be hungry? Fan told Annie to take a look and show her gift. Fan said that if she could get a promotion, she wouldn't have to toil in that bakery anymore. Ko replied that no, it was too expensive a gift. She couldn't accept it. Should she just sell it? He said that he had given the weapons and equipment to the lady of the Qin family. So they will sell this scroll and buy him 2 pieces of equipment so that he will be the best in the exam. Fan told his aunt that he does not need money or equipment and showed his bank account. Ko was surprised and asked the guy where he got the money from. Fan replied that he sold the materials he got during his so-called journey, and Qinshou also gave him 100,000 as a reward. Fan told his aunt to trust him that they would never have to worry about money again. Let her take it and use it now. Ko agreed and replied that she would try it now. And immediately after opening the scroll, a bright light appeared that gave off great energy. Fan asked her if it worked. Ko replied that yes, she had been promoted and was now an enchanted chef. Fan asked if there were any special features to her new class. Ko replied that she now had the enchanted cooking skill, which allowed her to cook food with various bonuses. Fan told his aunt that she was a master, which meant that the bonuses would be cool. Ko started laughing and replied that only he could say that. And suddenly Fan asked, "Where's Xiao?" She was here just now. At this time, Xiao had eaten everything in the kitchen and was lying on the floor with a full stomach. That night, in the study of the Qin family villa, the head asked Xiao, did this dragon tamer Fan summon a powerful dragon and save them all? Xiao replied that it was because of her that they almost died there. Fan is very strong. He also has a hidden class, but they are like the glow of a firefly in the sun. The leader asked, did she tell anyone else about the dragon? Xiao replied that she hadn't told anyone. She had promised Fan that his dragon would remain a secret. Shanghai said she did a good job. When that becomes known, many of those who drool over dragons will be delighted. Xiao told her father that Fan had saved all their lives. He wouldn't tell about his dragon, would he? Shanghai asked his daughter, is that what she thought of him? And how is she going to repay Fan for saving her life? Xiao replied that before the test began, she had promised him a reward of 100,000 coins. Shanghai said that then tomorrow she would go to his house with a card to thank him personally. Xiao told her father that since he was so interested in him, maybe he could go with her. Shanghai said that he would be only too happy to meet this dragon tamer, but he had business tomorrow. The next morning, everyone was saying that Princess Taichi had come to study in Jianghai. They had a purely business relationship, but they still needed to say hello. There was no way to avoid it. But to come right before the most important exam, she must not be here just to study. At that time, Cook passed by and told them to go. But suddenly, Cook closed the door and asked them if they were going to get buns. But she apologized to them. They weren't working today. Mrs. Tai Chi asked her man, did he tell her about this place? What kind of dump is this? The guard replied that they were told that it was here. Ko asked who they were, but the lady's guard grabbed her and pushed her aside so that she wouldn't interfere with them. Lady Tai Chi replied that the princess had come to pick up someone. Did she know a dragon tamer named Fan? Suddenly Fan came down and asked if someone was looking for him. But seeing his aunt in a bad state, he immediately ran to them. Princess Tai Chi covered her nose and said that there was a disgusting smell. Fan asked Auntie if she was okay and what was going on here. Ku replied that everything was fine with her. The princess asked the guy if he was Fan, and she was a princess and came here for him. Fan asked her in surprise, is the princess looking for him? And who is she? Hontai replied that she is the princess of the Tai Chi kingdom, Jing Zhu, and he is a loyal servant of Chui Hontai. Zhu said that the princess came to him to give him a chance to get ahead. Fan asked, get ahead? Zhu started laughing and replied, I guess it's not easy being a dragon tamer, right? But then he saw the chest and immediately realized what kind of egg it was. Zhu told him that if he agreed to her terms, it would be his. So is he impressed? Does he want it? Her conditions are incredibly simple. She wants him to be her slave. Whatever she says, that's what she will do. No disobedience. Zhu said that this was the reward that fell to her from the lair of the armored dragon, the only dragon egg in the world. Ko asked, was he a slave? Zhu turned around abruptly and asked, has he lost his power of speech or something? Although yes, for an ignoramus like him, this is a completely natural reaction to such a powerful dragon. Fan immediately looked at the system and realized that it was a type of earth dragon that was even lower than the sub-dragon. This dragon only has high endurance, and they call it powerful. Fan told the princess that the characteristic is not bad. Zhu wondered for a moment if he understood what was in front of him. Did he understand what a dragon egg meant to a dragon tamer? Ko asked in surprise, how could she behave like this? Fan told his aunt not to worry, he would drive them away. Zhu said that a dragon tamer without a dragon is useless, right? If he becomes her slave, he will become the most powerful dragon tamer in history. Doesn't he care about that? Fan replied that he was of course flattered, but had to decline. Zhu got angry and asked him what he had just said. He refuses to be her slave, a dragon tamer who will make history. Fan replied that if that was all they came for, he asked them to leave. He wasn't interested in her dragon egg, much less being a slave. Was she kidding? Hontai said that the princess personally gives him a chance to reach the heights, and he speaks to her so rudely, and the stupid boy does not appreciate it. Fan started laughing and asked, a chance? Heights? Let them not make him laugh, because he was not going to be anyone's slave. Zhu got angry and told Hontai to teach him a lesson, but suddenly Ku came to his defense and asked them not to touch him, and he didn't mean to answer so rudely. He asked for forgiveness. Hontai replied that it was the princess's order, let her get out of the way, and then he punched her in the face. Fan ran up to her and asked where she hurt herself. He would help her. Ku replied that everything was fine and she was fine. Hontai said that some commoner dared to disobey the noble princess. He will pay, and immediately attacked him with his fist from behind. Fan was telling his aunt not to worry and went up to the house. But he felt the attack and turned around and pulled out his blade. Fan said that they were attacking his family. Yes, he would kill them all here. Ko asked him not to be so impulsive. Zhu asked her servant what was wrong. She wanted him to teach him a lesson. But Hontai realized that something was wrong with this guy. Fan punched the princess and said that he didn't care that she was some kind of princess. Just let her shut up already. Let her take her scum and get lost. But Hontai saw this and attacked, shouting, how dare he attack the princess? But Fan turned around and knocked the sword out of his hands. Hontai asked the princess if she was okay, but Zhu hit him and said that he was a loser. He asked again if she was okay. Let him go and kill him. Even if she never has a dragon tamer, she still wants him to kill him. Xiao was sleeping at home at the time, and suddenly the phone rang. Chiu called him and said that it was strange that he didn't pick up. And it seems to be the number he gave her upon returning to the city. Did she write it down incorrectly? On the way through the city, she asked where Fanya was at home. Suddenly, a huge explosion came from the corner, and Chiu immediately ran to the side. She asked, "Is there a fight?" People were saying that the newcomers were causing trouble. Zhu asked them what they were staring at. "Let them go away." Hantai told the princess that this guy was pretty strong. Zhu replied that he was trash, and to fight for so long with some loser. Then it was time for her to step in. Fan immediately realized that this was a spell that was the exact opposite of Chiu's spell, and it seemed that she also had a hidden class. But then Chiu came running and asked him what happened. Fan asked in surprise, "Chiu, what is she doing here?" But at this time, Hantai was covered in dark magic and turned into a huge warrior. Fan looked at his stats and realized that he had turned into a monster. Chiu stood up for him and asked him to let her help him. Hantai immediately pounced on them, but Fan stood in front of her and told her not to come near. Let her take better care of his aunt. She is in the shop. Hantai punched the guy and told him to die. Fan felt his attack power had increased so much. Looks like he needs to use Dragon Impulse and Dragon Claw. Zhu was happy and said at that time that this is how one should fight, and let him kill him to calm her anger. Hantai said that with his princess's support, he was finished. But Fan immediately called Xiao, and she immediately rushed out of the house. Seeing the dragon in front of her face, Zhu said that this could not be. Fan looked at them and said that it was his turn to calm his anger. Xiao immediately pounced on the sickest one with her claws and pinned him to the ground so that he couldn't even move. At that moment, Jia couldn't understand how this could be. It was impossible. How could he defeat Hantai with one blow? Hantai was under the claws at this time and asked the lady to save him. But Jia used the skill charge and answered him to hold on. But Xiao came to her and interrupted her skill. She used the blood of the black dragon, reducing all damage received by 50%. Hantai was shouting at her to let him in. Xiao immediately hit him and threw him aside. Hantai told the lady that it was not necessary. Let her go. Zhao was very surprised by the power of the giant dragon, and it turns out that someone else has dragon eggs and dragons. Fan approached the princess and asked if she wanted to kill him. Zhao asked him not to come near and to stay away from her. Zhao said that they attacked his servant and seriously injured him. They insulted her and threatened her. Does the guy now understand what this can lead to? Now he is an enemy of the kingdom. Fan pulled out his knife and asked the princess if she had been threatened. She ordered her man to attack him and his family. Jia asked him what he was planning. Fan replied that he didn't care that she was some princess and ordered Xiao to prepare a skill charge. Fan said that he would have taken revenge on her anyway, but suddenly a man flew in on a bird and told him to let her go. Xiao was immediately surprised and said that it was father. Fan immediately ordered Xiao to stop. Shanghai came down and said that there were many people around and let Fan take his dragon into the house. He noticed that the real dragon was so unusual, different from its subspecies. Even from here, you can feel its power. Xiao asked Fan to listen to her father. He can trust her. He immediately ordered Xiao that they should go. Shanghai asked the princess if she was okay. He didn't expect to see her here, and the Qin family's driver will be here soon. He will take her to the hospital. Ke said that Xiao said that her father knows this princess. Maybe they can help resolve the conflict. Fan replied that he had a feeling she wouldn't let it go. Shanghai came over and said that he knew the whole story. To trash the city at the first meeting was something. Fan replied that he was sorry he had caused so much trouble, but it was not only his fault. Ko asked Mr. Qin to explain what happened. Shanghai replied that he had sent Princess Jing and Mr. Chui to the hospital so that he could explain himself to them now. He said that the Jin family is not only engaged in business, but also has great influence in the top leadership of the Tai Chi Kingdom. Ku replied that such a strong opponent and Fan defeated them like this, and now he will probably be punished for this. Fan asked, so what if she had great strength? He wouldn't sell his dignity for some dragon egg. Shanghai started laughing and said that he was a good boy. He appreciated that. He had nothing to worry about. He would help him figure it out. But he can't do it alone, so he has conditions. Fan was surprised and asked, what other condition? Shanghai replied that he would rank first in the entrance exam, and he would do his best to detain the princess while she took the exam. Xiao told him that it wouldn't be that easy. There were many capable students in the kingdom. Shanghai replied that he could only help him if he beat everyone and took first place. Fan said that he understood everything and accepted his conditions. At this time, Zhao was in the hospital asking if Fan had been arrested yet, and it was clear that Shanghai was on his side. The guy told the princess to calm down. They would immediately contact the high-ranking officials and resolve the issue with him. Zhao replied that he should do something about this guy as soon as possible. She wanted him to die. The next day, in the main square of the third academy, before the big exam, the students said that one of them had become a magician and could now create a team. And suddenly one of the students said that everyone should look, isn't that Fan coming? They thought that he would be selling buns at home. But the best student got a terrible grade and became a loser. Why should he take the exam at all? Fan knew in his head that he had missed this gossip so much. Now he would show them what he had achieved. The teacher came up to the podium and said there should be silence. After all, the exam was about to begin. Fan knew that ever since he reached level 15, he had never used the treasure maps he received every day. It was a pity that they were all mid-rank. If you combine them all into one high-ranking treasure map, it could help you prepare for the exam. The teacher came up to him and asked if he had come to take the exam too. Fan told the teacher that yes, he had trained a lot, and in a few days, everything had gotten much better. The teacher said it was not bad, but he needed to work hard. Here is his teleportation stone, and he thinks he is not a bit worse than the representatives of other classes. But classes are important too. One mistake can lead to injury or even death. Let him try to cooperate with his classmates for the test. If he can't, just use a stone. Fan replied to the teacher that he understood everything. He understood that in this case, the points from the test would be divided among the team members. Suddenly, several girls saw him and turned to him. Fan was surprised and asked, "Are they in a team?" Xiao replied, "Yes, she's his best friend. He can call her Tao Zi. She is very strong." The system immediately showed him that Tao Xiaoman was a level 4 swordsman. Xiao asked Fan if he wanted to join their team. Fan apologized and said he planned to go alone. He knew she wanted to help, but he wasn't happy with the conditions here. And then he would go to get ready and wish the guys good luck and tell them to give it their all. Xiao wished it back too. She understood that, judging by Fan's strength, everyone who would be on the team with them would drag him down. Z asked her friend why she invited a guy from the weakest class to join them. Xiao replied that no, he was very strong. Whether she wanted to believe it or not, he would definitely take first place. Jia asked her what she was saying. Had she fallen in love with this dragon tamer? Xiao replied that they had to go, and that she shouldn't bother her head with nonsense. Fan walked through the portal and entered Jianghai City, and it was the examination dungeon. He said that this is where everything will take place. The teacher addressed the dear candidates to note that the test is divided into 4 levels: normal, difficult, terrifying, and nightmare. And when they open a level, they can use the teleportation stone to enter it. Normal level tests are controlled and do not result in fatal injuries. The system immediately showed him that the level of difficulty of the exam was normal. The teacher said that there are various monsters in the test. The points are saved when you exit using the teleportation stone. Students said that it seems that not everyone chooses this difficulty anymore. It is very difficult. You can even lose your life. Only hidden classes are capable of such a thing. The teacher said that the monsters at the terrifying level are more ferocious. It is not recommended to challenge alone. It is better to let the points be divided among the team members. Who had a hidden class of Master Qinggong and asked the director if he had seen it? He would get the highest score. Z said that the best student of the first academy is among the top 5 in the province. Xiao asked, "Is he a Qinggong master?" A versatile class that can both attack and defend. They will be in trouble. The students also said that this was the end. Their rating would drop because of this Wu, and they were sure that they couldn't overtake him. They should have chosen a different difficulty. In the office, the director of the first academy, said that this Wu is the strongest in their academy. Victory will be his. And he thinks that Mr. Chio's daughter is not bad either. Should be in the top 3, right? At this time, the director understood that he felt sorry for Fanya. If he had received a different class, he might have taken first place. Shanghai turned to the respected directors that this time he was very optimistic. The director asked the gentleman, who was he talking about? Shanghai replied that he was simply Fanya, the dragon tamer. The director asked in surprise, Lu Fanya? Shanghai replied that all the students had already left for the tests, and he still hadn't come in. Is he not going to take the test? The first director turned to Mr. Qin. Enough jokes. What can you expect from a dragon tamer? Let him look at Wu. He's already on the 4th floor. First place is in his pocket. The director said he's not going to fail the exam. He's waiting for the door to the hardest level to appear. The first director asked, did he choose the nightmare level test? There's no way out. He is too confident. The director asked, is he crazy? He will die. Let someone stop him. Fanya was told that no one who challenged the nightmarish test ever returned alive. Fan did not listen to them and moved to the most difficult level. The director was very surprised and said that the last student passed that test 8 years ago, and he died a terrible death. The first director said, what nonsense. Has no one explained the rules to him? He doesn't think about what he's doing, and Mr. Qin should reconsider his views. He's no match for Wu. The director said that he was looking forward to the results of their master Qinggong. Shanghai told the director that it was too early to draw conclusions. Maybe they should observe first? The director asked the gentleman why he was so sure of him. He thought, maybe this Fan is not so simple. And so Fan moved to the 1st floor of the nightmare test. He pulled out his knife and knew that this was only the 1st floor and at least 10. And immediately, the 10th level black-maned wolves came out in front of him. Fan was delighted and said that it was time to act, and immediately used the dragon bite, absorbs the dragon's energy to deliver a powerful blow. And Fanyu's system said that the 1st floor of the nightmare test has been passed. The door to the 2nd floor is open, and 990 points have been obtained. The first director even stood up and asked with one blow, what's wrong with this Fan? He's incredibly strong. The teacher replied that his stats were clearly above his level. The director said, maybe he found the legendary dragon? And at this time, Fan was already in 2nd place in the ranking table. But suddenly a man burst into the room and said that he was Jian Su, the imperial ambassador. He apologized for disturbing you, but he needed to bring someone to investigate. And the dragon tamer Lu Fan is here? Jian Su was a level 57 combat class and was the 2nd swordsman. Fan was taking an exam at the time and suddenly opened the map and said that he had found it. He had come to the location of the treasure map. Fan was overjoyed that it was so fortunate that the location of the high-level treasure from a map he had just synthesized was right here. He opened the chest and received the skill book Accelerated Growth by 1%. Its effect allows you to learn the passive estate Accelerated Growth. Fan burst into flames, and the system said that he had obtained the skill of Accelerated Growth. He knew that this was perfect for Xiao Yi. He thought that Zhao's level had risen very slowly after the village. This skill would be very useful. Su told director by that since Fan was a student of his academy, he needed to immediately interrupt his test and tell him to come here. Director Bai replied that even if the matter was important, it would have to be postponed until after the exam. As the director of the academy, he could handle everything on his behalf. Su asked in surprise, is it his name? He can't get punished for it. Bai asked in surprise, punishment? Shanghai approached Mr. Qian and said that they were former classmates. Let him listen. And what did this Fan do? Su removed his hand and told him not to interfere with his work and not to touch him. He doesn't know why he's covering for this dragon tamer, but he reminds him once again that if he interferes, the imperial court will be displeased. If he doesn't understand, let him get lost. Let director Bai bring him right away. Shanghai told him that the relationship between the Tai Chi officials and the Qin family is indeed complicated. But once Fan's secret is revealed, neither they nor any other meaning will matter. No one will take Fan today. Sue asked, what secret, what nonsense? Disobedience is a crime. Shanghai grabbed his hand and said, let them blame him. He will admit everything. Sue said that he would tell his superiors what he had done. I came over and asked them to calm down. Let the master not disturb their exam. Sue asked, why would he do such a thing for a mere boy? Shanghai asked, wasn't he interested in Fan's secret, which could make him disobey his superiors? Sue was surprised by these words and saw that this Fan had chosen the nightmare level. Fan thought at this time that he wanted to see which floor he could reach by himself, but with such skill, it would be better to summon Xiao so that she could gain more experience. Sue said that he dared to challenge the nightmare level. What's so special about this Fan? The first director replied that he had not yet seen him deal with everyone with one blow, and then he told him to look at the screen. Fan ordered Xiao to attack. Sue was very surprised and asked in surprise, is this a dragon? Shanghai said that although he had already seen it, it still gave him goosebumps. Xiao immediately smashed the door with one blow. Shanghai asked the others. Now everyone saw his secret. He is the only tamer in history who was able to tame a dragon. I asked, Fan really tamed the dragon? And suddenly the system said that the second floor was passed. The first director said that no class could overcome the power of this dragon. The teacher replied that he could wipe out the country when he raised his level a little. Fan had already climbed to the first place in the table. At this time, he was already on the 13th floor of the nightmare level. I said that it wasn't just the dragon, Fan's strength. All of his stats should be above 100. He would be the best even if he didn't summon the dragon. Shanghai asked Sue if he still wanted to take Fan to his leadership. Sue replied that today they had opened his eyes. He finally understood why they had resisted. Shanghai said that in that case, he would take away the video recording of Fan's exam and send it to the teacher. From now on, his relationship with Fan should not concern them, so let him go. Sue was surprised and asked which teacher he was talking about. Shanghai replied that he was talking about Tu Jingye, Mr. Jinbei. At this time, Fan reached the 20th floor of the nightmare level, and a level 15 dark priestess appeared in front of him. Fan knew that with the acceleration of Zhao's growth, she would probably level up soon, so he ordered her to use lava flame. After the fire attack, the system immediately said that the 20th floor of the nightmare level had been passed. The dragon immediately rose to level 11, and Fan rose to level 16. Fan immediately looked at the table and smiled, and said that they would raise this test to the ground. An hour later, Fan reached the 50th floor of the terrifying level. At this time, Wu said, what bad luck. The exam this year is just terrible. There must be at least 10 monsters here. How hard it is. Only Chio is competing for first place. But she is on the team, so she only gets half the points. Wu said that he would be the best in this exam. He started shouting to everyone outside to look at him. Let him immediately contact the top 10 universities and tell them to prepare for his admission. I said that the guy had reached the 50th floor of the nightmare level. All the previous ones had failed here. The first director replied that this level would be a turning point even if Fan passed the test. After that, he would advance more slowly. Fan looked at the system and said that this was Zhao's new skill after leveling up, and decided to use the 4-type transformation. Fan thought, what other kind of dragon destroyer and world destroyer could there be? Looking at the cliff, he saw a level 20 amethyst mountain giant. I asked in surprise, 3 nightmare bosses? How will he fight? The first director said that he also said that the 50th floor would definitely slow down Fan's progress. The director saw that his results were quite good. He would probably take first place. And why wasn't he in his academy? Fan saw the monster and saw that the damage reduction by 50% worked. But of course, it got more difficult in the middle. He ordered Xiao to try out her World Destroyer form. I saw this and said, what is Fan going to do? Xiao at this time transformed into something big and even stronger. The system after the transformation said that new skills were opened, earth-breaking, and a terrifying roar. I asked, can the dragon change its combat form? Shanghai looked at this with surprised eyes and said that this was also possible. The whole world would shudder from this. The monster decided to attack him from behind, but Fan dodged and ordered Xiao to perform a jaw attack. The first director looked and asked, did he just break through a level 20 boss? Bai knew that his dragon was able to break through the defense of the Amethyst Mountain Giant. The attack power must have reached 2,000. But suddenly Fan would have fallen into the hands of the monster a little more. But Xiao managed to catch him and then used the dragon claw, which turns the hand into a dragon paw. The strength depends on the strength of the pet. Shanghai said to Mr. Qian that now, looking at Fan's strength, doesn't he feel offended that he prevented him from taking it? At the moment of attack, Fan looked at Xiao and said that the final blow would be his. And he used the earth-breaking attack. The system said that the black dragon level was increased to 12, and Fan was increased to 17. Fan said that the level was raised again. How lucky that he chose the nightmare level. It is not an obstacle for him. He goes through floor after floor. Seeing the portal, Fan realized that he had simply gained a huge amount of experience. Shanghai said that it seemed that this so-called turning point 50th floor was simply nothing for Fan. The first director replied that his dragon's power was far beyond his understanding. Bai turned to Mr. Qin and said that he knew a lot about dragons. He wondered if he could tell how much the giant dragon's power stats had increased to after it changed form. Su replied that he had seen the city's most powerful bigwigs fight, and if we were to compare their strength, this dragon's strength after transformation was no less than 2,500. The first director said with surprise that this was above all their characteristics. Bai understood that this was approximately what he expected, and he was afraid that it would only get worse. The first director said that now that he had passed the 50th floor, the pattern would gradually become obvious. Shanghai asked, what is the other +1? Bai replied that yes, the +1 rule was formulated by the first scientist who designed the test. And after passing the 50th floor, each floor with a large number of monsters will meet at least one boss. And this makes the trials more like a real dungeon, where players can lose their lives at any moment. However, the test will be X or 1. The bosses will be of a nightmare level. Bai said that in Nightmare X+1 mode, you can face more than one boss and increase your stats exponentially. Shanghai said it sounds complicated, and now they'll see how Fan handles it. And as for him, he doesn't care about X+1 at all. After that, the system immediately said that the 70th floor was passed, and the dragon's level increased to 13, and Lu Fan was raised to 18. Fan sat that starting from the 50th floor, it becomes much more difficult. But thanks to Xiao, the exam will be much easier. Fan told Xiao to follow him. Bai was saying that a little more than 10 minutes had passed, and Fan had already reached the 70th floor. The first director replied that, to be honest, the tower this year is much more difficult than in previous years. He doubts that anyone can go beyond the 80th floor. But now they will see. At this time, Fan has already passed the 76th floor and used the blood of the black dragon in the battle. The system said that the black dragon had leveled up to 14, and Fan had leveled up to 19, and the 83rd floor had been passed. Bai said that in previous years, many geniuses spent all their energy passing the floors, but during the great examination competition, they died due to their own fatigue. Shanghai replied that just think, there's not much time left. Very soon they will know who will get the main prize. Surely no one will give up now because of some fatigue? Bai replied that Fan was different from the others, and he believed that the guy was the first in the last 10 years to be able to reach the 100th floor. The first director told him not to rush. Despite a certain lead, one should not forget about the difficulty of level 99. The teacher shouted to everyone to look. Fan had reached level 99. The first director was surprised and asked, what? Fan arrived at the nightmare level 99 test floor. Looking in front of him, he saw headless guards guarding the sword. Suddenly, a level 55 headless horseman, the destruction of worlds, appeared in front of him and told Fan that he was a murderer. Fan understood that the Headless Horseman from the Ruined Kingdom was a fairly well-known monster here. All the stories from the Secret Kingdom are real. They originate from real history. However, like the Village of Sorrow, the Ruined Kingdom was formed as a result of the invasion of the undead hundreds of years ago, and the ruler was killed. The horsemen said that the killer should remain headless, and used the decapitation attack. Fan immediately realized that exchanging health was the safest way to pass through the secret realm. But since he doesn't have that ability, all that's left is to deal with all four. The horseman told him that murder is a serious crime. Fan launched a strong attack with his knife and turned around to see that the rider was still being hacked. The rider used World Destruction counterattack, but Fan turned around and blocked his attack. The system said that if the rider takes damage, he will immediately strike back. Fan ordered Xiao that it was now her turn to go out and destroy the Headless Horseman, and released a firestorm. Fan looked and said that she was a good girl, but the horseman was still alive and said that for the sake of the ruler, he would pay even with his life. The rider used the Thunder World Destruction. The knight has a thunder skill that increases attack speed and deals additional lightning damage. Fan parried his attack and saw that more horsemen were attacking him from different sides. He immediately jumped into the air and said that this could not continue, and he wants to go up to the 100th floor as soon as possible, and Xiao Yu's skill cooldown. Fan immediately told her to get ready. Xiao uses Lava Flame. She continuously spews flames in front of her, dealing damage and healing the owner at the same time. Released a strong attack. The system immediately said that the 99th floor was passed. Fan responded to this that he did not expect anything else from Xiao. There was only one floor left. The first director said that the top floor had opened. Shanghai replied that it looked like they would witness something legendary today. Bai asked in surprise, "Is it really the 100th floor?" He is afraid that it is because of him that he did not want the candidates to pass the selection. Fan stood up and said that this is the 100th floor, and here it is, the Ruined Kingdom. The number of undead armies is more than 500. Fan said this is an undead army, and now Xiao has to maintain her form. Now it's time to try the new destruction skill. Fan shouted that it was time to pass the last floor and get the grade he deserved, and ordered Xiao to switch to her Destroyer Dragon form. Xiao took the legendary form of the Destroyer Dragon and showed herself to be 1,000,000%. Bai asked in surprise, 3 forms? Shanghai replied that Fan must still have some aces up his sleeve. The 100th floor leader said for the Overlord's Guardians to go on the offensive. Fan ordered Xiao to prepare and to use the undead army from the Ruined Kingdom. At the moment of attack, Fan shouted to Xiao to activate the Cataclysm attack. With her strong attack, the undead army began to decrease to the minimum. The first director looked at him in surprise and asked if the candidate could possibly have such a skill. Shanghai replied that he had destroyed an entire army of undead. The head of the 100th floor ordered Fan to kneel before the Overlord. The boy immediately shouted for Xiao to come to him. Bai asked, did he kill the 4 horsemen? Shanghai thought, so Fan even managed to cope with the highest level? Looking at the table, the first director said that he had 980,000 points. No one had reached such heights in the last 30 years. Perhaps he would be the one to win the main prize. Bai replied that the exam this year was not easy, so the rewards should be appropriate. Fan at this time said that he got rid of the bugs, and it was time to go to the boss. And the last boss is the Emperor of the Destroyed World. The head of the 100th floor said that Fan is an impudent parasite. At this time, the undead army fell in battle. Fan told Xiao to get ready and attack the Dragon Claw monster. The leader attacked him. Fan used his sword and repelled his attack. The leader went back and thought, where did his strength go? Fan laughed and asked if he had noticed that he had become weaker and showed him his mourning ring. The leader replied, what a terrible trick. Fan turned to Xiao and told her to use the second part. Fan pounced on him with his sword and stabbed it into the chest of the 100th floor leader, leaving him no chance. Fan told Xiao that they were done. Bai said that no one had ever scored so many points in 30 years. Shanghai replied that it looked like they would become very famous thanks to him. Fan said that they were done and asked Xiao if she wanted to go home and have a snack. Xiao replied with her roar that she did. The system said that the 100th floor had been passed, and Li Fan was completing his test. In fact, he thought that he wouldn't be able to reach the 30th level, but it turned out that he was wrong. Opening the chest, he received the wrath of the Ice Dragon Lord, the Ring of the Spirit Wind. He understood that it could add agility, and it was a pity that it could not affect Xiao in any way. The Epic Cloak is designed more for Zhao's Destroyer Dragon form. It reduces damage from water techniques and increases damage from fire ones. Fan took all the treasures and said that it was time for him and Xiao to rest, and activated the teleportation. And finally he could return. When Bai came out to his world, he told him that he was so capable. Here she is, the dark horse of their academy. From now on, his photo will hang on the wall in the academy. The first director said that there were only photos of tragically deceased students hanging there. Is that right? Bai replied that there was no point in talking about it here. Fan had broken the record. A bright future awaited him. But suddenly Shanghai came up laughing and said, "Who would have thought that Fan would be in the spotlight precisely because of the exam?" And despite the fact that he was mentally prepared for the results of the exam, it still amazed. Fan replied to his uncle that he had fulfilled the conditions. And so their agreement about Chiu must be fulfilled, right? Shanghai replied that it keeps its word. He'll decide everything soon. Shanghai told him that he didn't have to worry. He'd better think about choosing a university. The teacher said that he thinks that now all 10 universities that are part of the volume will fight for him. Businessmen from the South will definitely take advantage of the opportunity and try to establish relations with him. The teacher asked, "Where's the dragon? Maybe he will summon him too?" The director asked him, "Is he crazy?" Then the building will collapse. And he congratulates Fan for breaking all records. At this time, in the land of dragons at the edge of the north, in an unknown area of level 60, the man was sitting in his headquarters and watching the video of the exam. Chief Shin Beihua was drinking and said that it was great, but suddenly someone knocked, and he ordered them to come in. Beihua asked what was going on. The man replied that he was sorry to bother you, but he had a report to make. Putting the dossier on the table, he said that here he could see all the data that Shanghai had provided. And thanks to the report of their envoy, information about the conspiracy of the families reached them. After an investigation was conducted, more detailed information about what was happening became available to them. Beihua said that Yuan Zhongfeng was to blame for everything. The guy replied that the Jin family and Mr. Yuan had a close relationship. They also take advantage of each other's privileges, thereby further strengthening their relationships. Baiho began to laugh and replied that it was no wonder they sent a man to deal with the dragon tamer. And Yuan is taking on too much. They need to free Princess Taichi's hand. Let her do as she pleases. And it's time to put them all in their place and deprive them of all positions in case of disobedience. Let them carry out the order. And if he has any complaints, let him discuss everything with him personally. And as for the Jin family, if they try to contact Yuan again, let him send a squad of snow lions to them. Baihua said he still has something. Let him pay attention to what choice the dragon tamer makes. Fan must get the best resources. Baiho knew that this boy would become a living legend, and when his mission was completed, he would finally be able to meet him in person. Baiho was thinking all the time, when will it end? Zhao was asking on the phone at this time. What is he saying? Zhen Baihua fired Yuan? The guy answered the princess to calm down. Another piece of good news. Zhao asked what else he would tell. Who would catch her tamer instead of him now? The guy told her not to waste her precious time on this. It was all over. They discovered that besides Fan, there was another dragon tamer. Zhao smiled and replied that this was wonderful news. She hoped that this time everything would go much more smoothly. Seeing Wu walking out of the portal, the system said that they congratulated him. He passed the exam while on the 72nd floor and scored 89,250 points. Wu realized right away that he had a great result. In the 72nd floor, he will definitely become a champion. And they say that the top 10 universities even have special awards. In the future, he will become even more majestic. We suddenly saw people and thought, what's all the fuss? So many managers. The first director came up to him and said that he was a real champion. He showed himself better than everyone else. Wu replied that he wasn't even sweating, and everyone must be greeting him. He walked up to his director and said hello. The first director turned around and asked in surprise, "Is he done yet?" Wu replied that he was done, had almost 90,000 points, and didn't think anyone could beat him. The first director said that everything was fine. He would also have the opportunity to choose any of the top 10 universities. But of course grades are important too, but he gave it his all anyway. His injuries are not serious, but it is better to recover. Wu was surprised by this and thought, what does the director want to say with all this? Will he also get an opportunity? And probably not. The director is in shock because he has never seen such a number of points scored before. And he must be very proud of him. Wu was delighted and thanked the director. 7 days later, the results were to be announced. Suddenly, people gathered in front of Fan and shouted that he had accepted their offer. The minister personally invited him to pay him a visit. People have asked him which university he is considering at the moment, and does he plan to go to Lungo Academy in the future? Shanghai came and said that the results were announced. Everyone was shocked, but decided to see the champion in person. Ku replied that it was too busy outside, and it was better to talk inside. Shanghai said that the 6 boxes contain a prize fund of 50 million, which Jianghai City would give to the winner. Fan watched his phone and saw that his score had not yet been announced. Shanghai said that in addition to this, he gets an additional bonus. And suddenly turning around, he saw that it was the roar of the Blue Dragon Lord. Fan was delighted and realized that this was a skill book, and also an elixir that would definitely make him stronger. Now also thunder abilities, not just ice magic. Shanghai said the director carefully selected all the rewards, especially these boots, which recharge in literally 30 seconds. Fan immediately saw that the reload time was short. This equipment would be very helpful for beginners who were just starting out. Fan took the suitcase and said that he would find it very useful. But suddenly Chiu came in and announced that representatives from 10 universities had already arrived in Jianghai. Father had invited them to their home, and she had been sent to see Fan off. Ku asked in surprise, "Chiu, is he here too?" "Let her close the door. There are too many people." Fan asked in surprise, "So early?" "He just got to first place." Shanghai responded that such results are shown quite rarely, so everyone is very eager to see it as soon as possible. And his exam record and result were hidden on purpose. No one except the top 10 universities saw them. He is too special. Yi Jingzhu has established contact with the teacher. He wants to meet him in person. Fan replied that it was wonderful and he wanted to see him too. Shanghai said it was not time yet. He shouldn't worry. He would meet him sooner or later. Chiu gave him an envelope and said that she asked him to accept it. They couldn't meet the last time she came. Fan asked in surprise, "The purple fate card, it's very expensive. It costs 10 million. Shanghai replied that he deserved it. So let him take it. They were being taken to an event in the evening, so the card could be very useful to them. Chiu told her father that he would relax so much. Ku didn't understand and asked in surprise, what was the matter? Chiu immediately took his hand and said that it was time to say hello. At this time, in Longhua, in the forest outside of Jingzhou City, a car suddenly parked. Jia immediately came out and asked the servant what Fan's level was. The servant replied that it was 19 and the dragon was 14. Jia said that dragon tamers are so different. They will be able to fight a level 30 boss very soon. Suddenly, they met Chen Tianji, who was level 19 and a dragon tamer. By this time, the animal had pounced on him, but Chen was not afraid and ordered his dragon to use its tail. After defeating the monster, the system said that the armored dragon's level had been raised to 15, and Chen's level had been raised to 20. Jia said that it was not bad, and the dragon egg was not given away in vain. Chen replied that he was glad that he did not let her down. Jia said that, of course, it couldn't be any other way. She asked Hong Tai if he would mind handing over his weapon to him later. Hong Tai replied that the subordinate was acting in accordance with the princess's orders. Chun said that he thanked the princess. With her help, he could definitely become the next champion. Jia remembered that Chun had scored over 1,000,000 points, but only finished second. Fan's result had not yet been announced. If he was ahead by only 300,000 points, she thought Chun still had a chance to win. Jia told him to remember Fan's name until he finished him off and took the Black Dragon. She will help him become the strongest dragon tamer in history. He will become his personal servant. As for Fan, let him deal with him. Chun replied that she shouldn't worry. It was a great honor for him. Jia said that he was much better than him. She gave him a chance, but he didn't appreciate it. Jia told Hongtai to go to Jianghai City and find out which university Fan chose. And if he fails to complete the task, he may not appear again. Jia understood that very soon he will regret how he treated her. At the Qin family manor, outside the living room, Qiu asked Fan if he had decided where he would apply, and suddenly she said that she thought no. That was what her father wanted to know. He said that it would be better if he went to the same place she did. Fan replied that it was good, and they said that teamwork was very important in the university, so they had to work together. If they went to the secret kingdom together, they would definitely win. But he hasn't made a final decision yet, so he'll tell you later. Qiu knew that she didn't know how many points Fan had scored on the exam, and she was afraid that the gap between them was too big. Qiu said that she would do her best to go with him. Fan closed the door and replied that it was fine. Opening the door, Fan greeted and wanted to introduce himself, but the man said that it was Fan. They had already seen the recording of his exam. It was amazing. But the girl sitting next to him said that he became the first owner of such power with such a class. He is their hope. Does he understand? The man told her to stop interrupting. Anyway, they, in their university, are much lower than their Jiangnan one. They provide a 10 million stipend, potions, secret kingdoms for training, and all this is completely free. The girl asked him if he thought he could win him over with this stuff. And in addition to what Jiangnan University provides, they give out 20 million and also open access to limited secret realms, and they have 20 of them. The man got angry and said that they couldn't beat them. They would provide exactly the same conditions. The girl replied that they were giving the opportunity to enter the secret kingdom. They were ready to discuss the terms again. If Fan was not satisfied, more bonuses could be added. Fan looked at all this and did not expect that it would come to this. He had no idea what to choose. The girl said that Longzhou University is providing a quota for the national test this year. They are inviting him to come. The man asked, really? He had just finished the exam. Would he be able to handle the national level? And all the previous candidates had gone through a strict selection process. Moreover, other countries were also ready. And how can a first-year student be entrusted with such an important task? Do they even care about the well-being of the country? Khan thought, national testing? Khan said the national test is a secret kingdom created by 23 countries around the world. Every 3 years, 23 countries nominate candidates under the age of 25 to represent their country in the test. And to ensure equal conditions, players must be on the same level, and candidates who are too strong and powerful are not allowed. And the testing will exalt the country of the winner, and the reward will be a treasure the world has never seen before. The girl came out and said it was too dangerous. The event was only in 6 months. The guy asked if it was too risky. Han replied that those who pass this test become truly honorable persons, and Longzhou University makes an exception for him and gives him such a chance. Fan immediately understood one thing. State testing would elevate not only the country, but also the candidate. The system immediately jumped out and said that they congratulated him. They sent him treasure maps. Fan was delighted because the second treasure map is of the divine level. Impressive. The previous treasure map gave him the opportunity to find a dragon egg. Now he has decided where to go. Han asked, well, and does Fan see that Longzhou University has never provided such an opportunity before? Unexpectedly, Fan replied that he had decided. Fan said he would go to Lundy University, but he wanted to ask for help. Will teacher Gu help him submit his application? Han replied that if it was difficult for him, she would do it herself. For days later, Ka stood in front of the bakery and said that she never thought that one day she would have to leave this place. She felt so sad considering the fact that they had lived here for so many years. Fan replied that they had money, so they could afford to live anywhere else. Ku said she understood, and when he first came to her, how quickly time flies. But suddenly a car pulled up and Shio shouted to her boyfriend and sister that they had come for them. Her friend said that they had also entered London University, and a plane had been reserved for them, so they needed to hurry. Fan asked if Z had also entered Longdu University. The girl replied that she and Shio had the same grades, and she wanted to study with him so much. Fan told Han on the day of the talk that he thought it would be nice to accept a few more students. The girl replied that she would decide everything. Ku was upset and said that she was sorry for making them worry about Fan. Did he already say that he always dreamed of going to university with a pleasant atmosphere and team? But how she misses the past. Fan used to be so small but very smart. Fan told her to stop crying. Shio turned to Sister Ku and said that there was not much time. Let it get in the car. Fan saw that his Annie was trying hard to raise him to be a good person, and he appreciated it very much. He said he would definitely make her life better. And now it's already starting. When she arrived in the country, Long Ku said that it was so lively here. That was what the capital meant. But Shio looked and saw that rare recipes were being sold here. Fan looked at the city and saw that the university itself was ahead. But suddenly, someone behind him told the princess that they had arrived. Suddenly, Zhu came out of the car and said, "What kind of Longhua is this? What a terrible capital it is." The servant looked ahead and suddenly saw Fan standing in front of them. Fan immediately thought, "What is Zhu doing here?" He certainly didn't expect it. Chun said that it turns out that this is the dragon tamer from Jianghai City. The servant shouted at him to calm down. Chun replied that he didn't even have to look. Zhu told him that he would be sent back if he did anything now, so not now. Chun replied that he understood and apologized. Chio said that her father said that she was going to come to Long Country, but why Longdu University? Fan tried to snap at them, and suddenly Han came up and said that it was very good that they were together. Khan asked if they were not acquainted, but she hurried to inform that they were two representatives of dragon tamers from the southern province. And that's why they are called the twins of the southern province at the university. Fan realized that he was the second dragon tamer. Shin said that he had heard a lot about Fan, and every day they were getting closer to each other. Fan told Master Han that they had just met. They were on the road and very tired. Maybe they should rest first? And they left. Khan replied that in that case, could he allow her to accompany them? And tomorrow they would discuss the details. Zhu looked at all this and said that they could handle it themselves. Han showed the university and said that all the first-year students lived here. There were 30 apartments in total. Every year, upon admission, the results of the entrance exams are studied in detail to assess the students' ranking, because only the best 30 will be able to enter them. A Fan took the honorable first place in this ranking. As for Chun Tianji, who took the second place in their province, he takes the 18th place in the overall ranking, and therefore his house is at number 18. Fan thought that it seemed like Chun had agreed to all of Jingzhu's conditions, one of which was to kill him or something like that. Chiu turned to the teacher and said that her and Z's results did not allow them to enter the top 30. How would they live? Han replied that unfortunately the three of them would have to go to another area. Ku asked if she could live with Fan then. Chiu and her friend were surprised and asked, living together? Han replied that the rules did not prohibit it, only if Fan himself was not against it. Ku asked Fan, he doesn't mind, does he? Doesn't he want to try Annie's dish? Fan replied, of course not. He agrees. Ku took the girls and said that in this case, they will live together. It will strengthen the bond between them, so that in the future they can safely pass through the secret kingdom. Fan looked and said that he thought they should listen to Annie. The hostel is very far from here. It will take a long time to find them. Z replied that in that case, they would stop. Cho also said that she agreed. Ku was delighted and replied that they would all eat together. Z attacked Fan and told him to listen to her. Even if he didn't dare to do anything, he would get it right away. Suddenly, the system showed that something new was available to him. Fan immediately realized that the treasure was somewhere nearby. He asked the teacher who lived in house number 2. Han replied that she was only responsible for Nanxing province and was not familiar with freshmen from other regions. She only knew that there was a girl living in house number 2. Fan told the girls to go to the house, and he would greet the new neighbors. Ku replied that it was good that he did not forget to give them a gift. Fan told his aunt not to get her head around it. He just wanted to see the person who came in second place. Chiu immediately thought that Fan was going to the girl. She shouldn't have underestimated him when she decided to enroll with him. Approaching the door, Fan wondered if he was doing everything right. I wonder if the neighbor would like Annie's cake, but in any case, she should at least thank him. Opening the door, Fan introduced himself and said that he lived in house number 1 and that he had come from Jianghai. The girl looked at him and did not understand anything. Fan said that it was for her, and now they are neighbors, and he hopes that they will become friends. Fan handed the gift to her, and the girl replied that she was from Yinhui province and her name was Jianing. Fan immediately realized that the voice was sweet, but would be difficult to make friends. He asked her if he could come in. His throat was dry. Would she offer him a glass of water? Ying led him into the house, closing the door behind her. Fan knew he didn't want to linger. He had to find the treasure. Fan started looking through all the teams and found a room that Jianing wasn't in yet. The system said that he had found a new treasure. The system showed that this was an emerald dragon egg, but the level was not yet known. Fan wondered, could this be the second egg? Ying brought him some water, but Fan replied that he remembered something. He didn't want to drink anymore. It was time for him to go. The system said that 1 emerald dragon egg was received. Fan said that he was glad to meet you and see you tomorrow. Ying saw that her room was open and thought he was a pervert. But in the evening, in the house at number 1, Fan was looking at his new treasure with Xiao. Fan knew that this was an emerald dragon egg, just like Xiao's. The system said that the egg could be activated. Suddenly, the egg broke, and a baby dragon was born. Fan realized that he was getting out. Now he had another dragon. Fan realized one thing. Xiao would now be able to receive additional support. During the exam, Zhao's strength increased by 30%, and during the cataclysm, up to 70%. If he combined her stats with a new dragon, they would increase by at least 60%, and the strength would reach 12,000. Xiao was very happy and started playing with him. Fan knew that, in addition, if he equipped the Emerald Dragon with equipment, it would become very strong, and he was afraid to imagine how strong. And now he had to think about everything. Fan was thinking about what to call him, but the little dragon started to bite Xiao, and he shouted at him not to do it. Fan said that he would call him Emerald, and how about him? And it even sounds good. From today on, she will be Zhao's friend. Xiao didn't want to share her master with anyone, and she kept growling at the Emerald. But Fan told him to stop. The next day, on the day of the freshmen's meeting, Fan said that it turned out that the combat and ordinary classes had different meetings. Chiu replied that yes, and Sister Han would be in another place. Z asked him why there was so much noise in her room yesterday. Fan tried to tell what happened last night, but heard everyone already saying that there were 2 beauties again, a swordswoman and a divine light mage. They are all beautiful, and they will be the first beauties of the university, and they would like to be alone with them in the secret kingdom. Do they think she has a boyfriend? There are 2 of them. They can't be dating the same guy at the same time. Chiu said at this time that she had asked Master Han to sit in the front yesterday. Z replied that if Xiao Qiu couldn't do it, she would sit in the back. Fan looked at the rows and saw one of the guys and realized that he looked familiar, and he seemed to remember. It was the noisy guy from the exam. We'll remember the director's words as he asked him what the guy thought. Did he become a champion? Let him look at the lists. Let him see the difference between them and Fan. Wu told Fan that he was the reason he embarrassed himself in front of the director. They finally met. Z at this time was thinking that it would be a good idea to separate. She would not allow Fan and Chiu to be together for long. Fan approached the girl and said hello. Chiu was surprised and asked him if they knew each other. Fan replied that it seemed like that. It was her neighbor. She lived in house number 2, and her name was Jianing. Chiu said that that's it, second place. It means she's not only beautiful, but also strong. The other students kept saying it was great. Lundu had such beautiful girls, and everyone was close to him. What's so good about that? At this moment, Zhao Xingming came out in front of them and told them to shut up. He introduced himself and informed them that he was the deputy director of Longzhi University, a professor in the Department of Martial Magic. Zhao said that first of all, he would like to greet them. He does not like to talk empty words, so the teachers will explain all the details to them and let him tell them about some rules. They will be given an ID card, the only thing they will need in Lundu. It will contain their points, which are the university's currency. And points are needed to open secret kingdoms provided by the university, as well as to purchase weapons, potions, and so on. Their first points will be awarded based on the points they have received. But suddenly one of the students turned to the deputy and said that the difficulty of the entrance exams in the provinces was different. Is this fair? Zhao replied that he had taken that into account as well. He had subtracted the coefficient he thought necessary, so that their scores would be equal. And the more difficult the test, the lower the deductible coefficient. For example, the test in the southern province was the most difficult, so the first-year student scored no less than 96 points. Fan realized that it looked like the points would be very useful in Longdu. Zhao said that these points were temporary because they would only be able to get the full points after the exam, which would take place in a month. And the top 30 students will be eligible to enter Qingyuan class. And the students who enter Qingyuan will receive a number of privileges. They will be able to apply to open secret realms that are inaccessible to others, exchange skills and equipment, move to other areas, and so on. The students said at this time that they had never heard of the Qingyuan class. The second guy said that he had too. It looks like they will have the opportunity to move. Fan understood at this moment that he could be considered a potential member of the Qingyuan class, but everything could change radically. He could lose his primacy. Zhao started laughing and said that he understood that they wanted to enter the Qingyuan class, but he hurried to inform them that the fact was that even if they entered the Qingyuan class, any student could challenge the Qingyuan students to a fight instead. And if the students of Qingyuan class lose, they must give up their place to the winner. Moreover, the students cannot refuse. And currently, Qingyuan's class has 30 people who occupy the first places in the rankings. In first place was the champion of the southern province, Dragon Tamer Lu Fan. The disciples asked in surprise, is he in first place? He must be first among tamers too. The student told his friend to speak more quietly. God forbid he should hear. If he has a dragon, then they're finished. If he really does have a dragon, then it is even more formidable. The guy said he searched, but couldn't find any recordings of his performance. And he's pretty good, since he was able to take first place. Chen asked the princess when they would finally remove him. Zhu replied that the details of his power were still unclear. We need to find out everything. Qiu told him that since the vice director had called out his name in front of everyone, didn't that mean that everyone would now run to challenge him? After the freshmen's meeting, Fan was glad that it was finally all over and it was time to get down to business. Fan told the girls that he suggested that they go to the Hall of the Dark Realms and look around. But suddenly Wu came up from behind and told Fan that he wanted to challenge him. Fan asked in surprise, "Challenge?" Wu replied that yes. The vice principal said that the students of the Qingyuan class have no right to refuse to fight. And if he really had the strength of a champion, why not test it? We knew he couldn't watch the video of his exam, so there was no other choice. And to win, he had to make a careful battle plan. Fan asked if he was sure he could accept his challenge. Wu replied that he was betting 200 points. Fan thought, just 200? And who cares? 200 is too much for him. He agreed to fight him for 200. The students said that they had already started fighting. They thought that the first dragon tamer was quite interesting. Zhu said it was a great opportunity to see Fan's abilities. Wu said he would count to 3 and begin, and immediately said it was already 3. Z asked, Fan won't lose, will he? Qiu replied that she probably hadn't seen him fight. Wu entered the battle to attack. Qiu smiled at this moment and said that she would find out everything very soon. Wu was fearless in this matter and was ready to do anything to get what he wanted. He immediately pounced and said it was time. Wu pounced on him, and the system said that this was a strike of accumulated energy, a method of concentrating energy, in which when hitting any weak point of the enemy, the damage will be doubled. But suddenly Wu was very surprised. He thought that this was the skill of the second transformation mana. Where did Fan get such a resistance technique? Fan said that he heard that Qin Gong masters are good at both close and long-range combat. But is that really all he can do? The system said that the Shining Boots, with their help, they can move to any place within a radius of 50 meters. The recharge time is 30 seconds. But Wu didn't lose his head and pounced on him and told him to die already. He used Enveloping Wave. Wu said that he would not have the strength to resist, and as long as he did nothing, he would be able to win, but as soon as he summoned the dragon. But Fan was smarter, and he pounced on him with both legs and attacked. Wu was surprised and asked, what? But Wu believed that in any case, his technique is hard as a rock. No one can break through. And he used hard as a rock. But no one expected that things would turn out like this. And the students started saying that he had lost? But how is that possible? One of the students said that he didn't even use his skills. He knocked him out with just one kick. And Fan defeated the Qin Gong representative before he even summoned the dragon. The student asked, is that all? He thought Wu could handle it, but the second guy told him to wait. He was bleeding. Everything was fine. Fan approached him and said that he still had much to learn. Zhu asked the servant if he had been watching him. Was he confident that he could defeat him? Chen replied that Fan had not summoned his dragon, so the strength was difficult to estimate. But he would have a certain advantage. Zhu said that he was not weak either. Fan pulled out a card and looked at Wu and said that as a result of the bet, he won 200 points. The system showed that this is Fan's personality card, and the change in points is plus 200, and his current points are 13739. Wu was surprised when he saw how many points he had and realized that if converted to the Southern Province system, his points were about 1.3 million. Didn't Shun Tianji, who came in second place, have 210,000? Wu realized that it was too bold for him to try to defeat Fan. Arriving at the secret hall, Chiu said that they had called Sister Han. Ke said that the battle had started so suddenly. Was his nephew safe? Fan replied that everything was fine and that Annie should not worry. Z said that he defeated Hong Wu so easily. Chiu laughed and replied that she had long said that he was very strong. He was very powerful. Z said that she was afraid to even imagine how strong his dragon was. Chiu replied that she thought his strength was beyond their imagination. Fan took the tablet and said that since everyone was here, they could take a look. He had just checked the secret kingdom provided by the university and thought he could try to pass it. Fan knew that he shouldn't have received Wu's call today. Ke said that they could live together, but it was still a secret kingdom that could be extremely dangerous. Fan told her not to worry. He was sure he could handle it. Z looked and said that if they were to form a team, with Sister Han, there were only 4 of them, and a minimum of 5 was required. Fan asked who else could be invited to join the team. Xiu replied that he should take a look. Her neighbor was there. She has the second highest overall score. She thinks she can handle the level 45 secret realm. Should I invite her? Fan walked up to her and greeted Ing. And then he realized that she had misunderstood him. But he realized that he had been acting rather strangely when he was looking for the egg. Fan said that she must have seen the kingdom before. In that case, wouldn't she like to join them? He saw that Jianing was quite difficult to communicate with, so she would either say okay or get out. But Ing looked at him and said he was a pervert. Jia immediately looked at him and asked what he did. Fan replied that it was a mistake. She had misunderstood everything. Fan said that he understands that he acted rather strangely when they first met, but he assures her that he is a normal person. He thinks she saw the secret kingdom too. They're one person short of a team, so why don't they team up? Ing looked and said that it was a forest of poisonous spiders, and she agreed. Fan asked, so the team was successfully formed? Xiu said that, whatever the case, they did a great job. Z replied that number 2 only needed to say a few words. Fan approached the girl and said that he could tell her the plan of action. Ing left and replied that it was not necessary. She put her card on the system and said they could go. Fan noticed that she had a little over 8,000 points. Maybe she didn't know about the difficulty coefficient of the southern province. Even in the most difficult southern province, the coefficient was extremely small, but its strength was 8,000, so it should not be underestimated. After passing through the portal, Chiyo said that this was the forest of poisonous spiders. Cook closed her mouth and replied that it was hard to even breathe. Fan looked and said that it looked like they had arrived. This place is called the Secret Kingdom. Z asked Fan why he chose the level 45 Secret Realm. The guy replied that he had been eyeing the Secret Realms for a long time. They give more experience here than anywhere else. Z was surprised and said that she didn't mean that, but Cook told them to wait. And since they were all here for the sake of elevation, everything should be divided equally. Fan replied that it was very useful. They would ascend very soon. Cook said that the cookie recipe was only available at a high level, so not everyone could make it. And fortunately, her skills increased the chances of successful cooking, and let her classmate try too, and asked her if that cake was hers too. Ko asked if she was talking about the pumpkin one. Of course, if she liked it, she can make it again. Chiyo said that Sister Han cooks very well. They live nearby, so they're always happy to have guests. But suddenly Fan noticed that a monster was walking nearby and told everyone to be careful. They had been spotted. The system immediately showed that it was a level 40 black, scaly python. Jia immediately pounced on the monster, but Chiyo told it to stop. Z attacked the python, but couldn't finish it off. Chiyo said that all the monsters here are at least level 40. It won't be easy. Ka looked and said that she could prepare food to increase defense, but it would take a little time. Fan replied that there was no need to stress so much. Let them not worry. He would sort everything out. Z asked Fan what he wanted to do. Ing looked and immediately realized that he wanted to summon a dragon. Fan immediately summoned Emerald. Everyone was surprised by this, and Z asked, "So this is a dragon?" Fan replied that they shouldn't worry. The Emerald was just a little naughty. Chiyo asked, "This isn't Xiao, is it?" "So he has two dragons." Ko asked where he got this dragon from. She had never seen it. At the moment of Python's attack, Fan told the Emerald to activate the Emerald Light. But Python had no effect and attacked the girl. Chiyo immediately ran up to her and said that she would heal her now. Z looked and asked, "Is there no wound?" At this time, Emerald began to laugh and look. Fan said that everything is correct. As long as the Emerald is here, everything will be fine with them. They will not receive wounds. Chiyo said that the Emerald's dispersion, resistance to injury, increase in characteristics, indicators are better than those of the second transformation master. Z replied that the dragon clan must be very strong, since even a small dragon is so capable. The python didn't hesitate and pounced on them with its sharp teeth. Ku saw this and shouted for them to dodge, because the monster was attacking. Fan said that he would figure it out now, but it was too late. A red beam passed through his head and cut him into pieces, and said that they would not waste time. And looking around, she showed that they had been ambushed. Fan now understood what swordsmen were. The strength of number 2 was truly amazing. Fan shouted at her aunt to run away. Could didn't understand what her nephew meant, didn't even notice that there was a monster behind her. Ing managed to attack the monster from afar to protect the girl. Fan ran and pushed his aunt aside. Fan immediately realized that the silver-armored spiders were immune to Jian Ying's blade. She tried to finish him off, but every time, her attacks failed. Fan decided to join the fight too and told Ing to dodge. Ing told him not to worry. Ing looked around and said that he was not alone here, and they would be able to deal with them. And she used the destructive army blade. Ing even accepted her level 14 Stormblade and said that the Black Widow is here too. Fan went with her to attack and said that she had a wonderful weapon. Her skills were excellent. Ing replied that starting from level 1, swordsmen are able to create their own weapons and gradually improve them. But now is not the time to talk. Fan noted that it was a bit like the Dragon Tamer class, where you can raise dragons and upgrade weapons. Fan told Emerald to use Emerald Light, while Ing used Mountain Crush. Ing was surprised and thanked him for the 30% bonus. Fan noticed that the bloodshed blade penetrated the monster's defense, and the storm sword dealt increased damage. And it turns out she is a great swordwoman. At this time, Chio was telling Z to protect Sister Han. Fan said that there weren't that many silver-armored spiders, so he could handle them himself, and let her deal with the Black Widow. Ing looked and was surprised. Fan was shouting at them to beware of the web. If they got caught in it, they might die. But suddenly Ing turned away a little while the spider threw its webs at her. But Emerald used his protection and protected her from death. Fan shouted at Ing not to run away alone and ordered Emerald to heal her. Fan ordered him to go after Ing. Z said at that moment that the light of the emerald would help them a lot, and Fan decided that he would leave his aunt to them. Running into the forest, he found Ing and would help her deal with them. Ing was injured, but tried not to show her weakness. Fan immediately used Emerald Light Release. Ing turned around and said that she could handle it herself. Turning around, she saw a spider web flying towards her, in which she would die in 60 seconds. Ing immediately realized that things were bad. Fan came up and told her not to be afraid. She could rely on him. Fan immediately used Dragon Claw. Ing was surprised that he had cut them down with one blow. In theory, there shouldn't be that much of a difference in strength between them, but why was he stronger than her when he used Mountain Crushing? Fan said that they should strike together, and immediately used the words of the Wind Spirits and the Dragon Bite. Ing looked at the situation and thought, where did such a difference in strength come from? At this time, Fan said that it was not bad. He had already managed to get the 3rd level, and he thinks that the 5th is also not far off. Ing turned away and said that this was the first time she had been treated as a weakling. By this time, the girls had arrived, and Shio said that the silver-armored spiders were finished. And Ku shouted to Fan that she had managed to level up. Fan approached Ing and said that she was very strong, but she can't leave her comrade to his fate. Ing was very surprised and didn't expect this from him. Ku asked Fan, why not use the Emerald Light? The guy replied that he did not need it. Z asked him, can his giant heal? Emerald immediately used the life source. Chio was delighted and said that she was now full of energy. But Z started laughing and told the boy that his head had turned green, and Fan ordered Emerald not to treat her anymore. And looked at this with surprise and did not understand that for the first time his comrades did not irritate her. As she entered deeper into the forest, Z said that this was very strange. The map ended here. Had they really reached the end? Z looked around and said that there was still a large square ahead. But Chio came and said that this looked like the lair of the boss of the secret kingdom. Fan understood that the devourer and leader of the pack was in charge of all the spiders. It seemed that they needed to be dealt with gradually. Chio immediately told Sister Kun not to look down. Z replied that this kind of scene could be traumatic, and she was afraid that she would not be able to bear it. Ku said that they had already protected her once. She thought it was her turn, and after looking she started to vomit and say that it was disgusting. Fan saw this and wondered if this was a common fear. Ing said that in any case in front of the boss, his subordinates must be killed. Z said they needed some kind of general strategy to figure out how exactly to get to the boss, but it would take at least 4 days to clear it out. Ku asked in surprise, would it take that long? But the food would only last for a day. Would they have to eat fried spiders? Chio immediately started screaming that she didn't want to eat them. Fan raised his hand and said that they didn't have to stick to any strategy. Ing asked him what he had come up with. Z also asked him what it was. Chio supported him and asked, are you really ready? And suddenly Fan shouted at Xiao to come out, and she immediately took her dragon form. Z was surprised and said that it was a fire dragon. So this is what a giant dragon looks like. Ing also felt that the dragon was giving off a very powerful aura. Fan told Xiao that she could rely on him, and after sending her to hell, he told her to use the Cataclysm attack. Ku was surprised and asked, Xiao could be like that? Z replied that she was just like the legendary dragon. Ing said that she would be even more powerful. At this time, Fan ordered Emerald that it was time to apply the strengthening effect to Xiao. Fan asked Xiao and Z if they could help. Xiao replied that he didn't have to worry. They would protect Sister Han. And Ying suggested that they fight the spiders together. Ying and Fan went into the hell and shouted that it was time to begin. Fan went down and immediately told Xiao to come to him. Ying looked at the battle and saw that the damage dealt was 3 stages. Unbelievable. She was about to be burned by the dragon's heat. Fan asked Xiao if they were okay. Xiao replied that they should go to the boss. She and Z could handle it. Fan shouted to Ying that it was time to go to the boss. They immediately pounced on him, but the boss spat out poison. Fan told Emerald to use Emerald Light, but the boss used the technique to catch in one fell swoop. Fan dodged the net and ordered Xiao to act, and ordered that everything here be on fire. Ying was surprised and saw that he had other powerful skills. This ability can even destroy a city, and now it turns out that he is able to destroy his opponents with just one blow. Fan looked at the painting and ordered Emerald to act. But looking to the side, he saw that Emerald had not obeyed the order. Seeing a bright light, he asked, "Is that really it?" Fan looked at her after she turned into a girl and realized that she was just like Xiao, and Emerald got a new form. But unexpectedly, the spiders were still alive and attacking. But she managed to use the blessing of the Emerald Dragon and let several of her swords into them. Ying looked and asked, "Is it really all over?" At first, he couldn't even hurt a simple spider, and now he can easily kill a boss. Fan understood that the blessing of the Emerald Dragon was only needed to add points to the characteristics. Fan told the Emerald that it was great. At level 5, she gained access to new skills and a form. And as they see, the Emerald helped him deal with the spider, increasing the necessary characteristics. And if you apply her skills to Xiao. But by this time, the spiders attacked again with their spitting poison. Fan ordered the Emerald to use the blessing of the Emerald Dragon on Xiao. After she mounted Xiao, she used the blessing of the Emerald Dragon. Xiao then immediately used the attack, all in flames. Ying looked and was surprised by the flame. Xiao added the Emerald's auxiliary effects, causing the damage to increase. Fan looked and told Ying and the Emerald to prepare for the final blow. And immediately, all together, they delivered the final blow. Fan immediately used the Dragon Fong Strike. Ying used the Emerald Dragon Blessing along with the Emerald. After defeating the boss, the system immediately raised their level 1 step higher. Ying asked the guy how many points he scored on the exam. Fan looked and replied that it was somewhere around 1.3 million. Ying replied that he definitely didn't have enough strength for 1.3 million points. Fan replied that there was nothing to be done. That was the maximum in his province. He shouted at Xiao and Z to take Annie away, but Xiao didn't like how Emerald was constantly clinging to her master and was very angry. After the conversation, Ying understood that she had half as many points as Fanya. But in terms of strength, there was a huge gap between them, which could not be overcome. By working together to exterminate spiders and cook Annie's food, everyone will receive a corresponding reward. Z opened the chest and said, "What a wonderful piece of equipment. It will come in very handy." But Fan asked the dragons to let him go and not embarrass him. And thanks to the teamwork, everyone stayed safe. Number 2 was glad for the first time that she was working with someone else. Xiao said on the way home that it was great and asked number 2 if they could exchange contacts. Ying replied that she didn't have a phone. Z kept up the conversation and said that they would come for her when she decided to go to the Secret Kingdom. To celebrate the success and the team's creation, Annie treated everyone to dinner. Ku said that you need to eat and restore your stamina. Ying started eating and suddenly said that it turns out that they all live together with this pervert. But Fan replied that he said that there was a mistake. In recent days, Fan has gradually become familiar with the rules of living here, constantly striving to improve his level. And every day, he studied the theory of combat. In class, everyone was tired, and suddenly someone asked Z to answer. But she answered that she did not remember. And so half a month passed, and there were only a couple of days left until the freshman's exam. And every day they fought and got promoted. Fan told Z to go get the chest. Z was always happy and replied that she was already on her way. Fan said that he wanted to raise Xiao to level 20 and Emerald to level 15 before the exam. Apparently, he didn't have time. Ing replied that she was fine. The Stormblade was the same level as her. Z looked into the chest and shouted, "That's great." Z got dressed and said that she had now fully assembled the necessary equipment. Xiao replied that this was wonderful. Now the rating will increase. But suddenly, Ku suggested that they go back. It was time to cook dinner. Xiao replied that yes, they were already on their way. Fan said that he also needed to prepare for the freshmen's conference. He needed a rest. Ing said that she agreed. But suddenly Ing suggested Fanu to go with her. Coming out of the portal, he was surprised and asked, "Teacher Han?" Han replied that it was actually Deputy Zhao who was looking for him, and he wanted to tell her something. Fan asked, "What's so important? Does he want to say something right before the conference?" Han replied that she would find out soon. The students were saying at that moment that they were in a really bad way in the classroom. Han asked if she was even interested in what they were talking about. Fan replied that yes, he had been constantly busy lately and didn't even have time to chat. Han replied that it was because of him that Wu was so eager to get into the class. Now the freshmen are betting on each other, calling it the new assessment. Fan asked, "New assessment?" Han answered that yes, newcomers fight each other, gain points. The losers get everything, and the losers can't even eat properly. Fan asked what 73 Hong meant. Han replied that it was a unit of measurement in which he had 100 Hong and Wu had 1. The thing is, he lost all his points, so now all he can do is scrub floors to avoid starving to death. Approaching the office, Han told him to let the guy come through. They were already waiting for him. Fan replied that he would come through now. Entering, Fan told Deputy Zhao that he had been told that he was looking for him. Zhao told him to come through. Zhao said that the much-talked-about national testing is about to begin, and initially it was supposed to take place in a few months in Taichi, but recently it was announced that the start date was being moved up to an earlier date. Taichi named their candidate. His name is Jin Xinghan. He is expected to reach level 60 within a month. Fan asked, "Why are they in such a hurry to start testing?" Zhao slammed his fist on the table and replied, "Exactly. Most candidates haven't achieved such results yet, so Taichi is betting on his own participant." Fan understood that once he reached level 60, the third transformation would become available to him. Then the difference between them would become even greater because he only had the second one. Zhao said he was very sorry about this. In 2 months, he would only be able to reach level 30, and all the other participants would be at least level 50. He might die. In previous years, they always won. But now, there is less time to prepare, and countries have become more thorough in preparing for the competition. And let him think, does he really want to participate? Fan told Zhao that this was a great opportunity for career advancement. He would not miss such a chance. Not only would he participate, but he would also win first place. Zhao said that since he had made his decision, he would not dissuade him. Let him try hard. Fan replied that, of course, he would do his best. And the next day, the freshmen's conference took place. Zhao said he would not say much. They would be presented with the results of this year's assessment. But first there would be a battle. The battle will be 2-on-2. The students were surprised and said that it was a team battle. The guy suggested to his friend that they team up, and he promises that they will cope. Chiu was saying at that moment that it was good that they wouldn't have any problems. Fan replied that Annie's class wasn't combat-oriented, so they would be able to split into 2 teams. Jia said he knew many of them hadn't formed teams yet, so now was the time. The preliminary round would be held this afternoon, and by tomorrow evening the top 100 teams will be announced. And now they can register if they have already chosen a partner. On the way, Chiu saw Z and shouted for her to come to them. And Fan greeted Ing. But suddenly a guy came up and said that he was number 7, a swordsman who had noticed her at the conference, and he hoped that she would not refuse and would form a team with him. But Ing immediately replied that she would refuse. Z told her friend that she was going and that they had better find Gu teacher and sign up. But seeing the guy, she asked what's wrong. Why is he crying? Chiu replied that many people want to form a team with Jining, but she knows that she will never leave them. Fan thought about it and said that then he and Chiu would be on one team and Ing and Z would be on the other. The next day was the preliminary round of the newcomers in Longdu. The students shouted with joy and said that Chun had won 28 times in a row. Zhu approached him and said that it was not bad. 28 wins in a row allows him to get into the top 16. Chun immediately thanked him for the praise. Chun said that now their team is moving up to 7th place, which means they will be able to fight with the first one very soon. Zhu replied that her brother Jing Chenghan would be coming to visit her soon. She would definitely introduce them, but then he would have to take first place, otherwise there was no other way. Chun told the princess not to worry. The referee shouted at this time that the fight was about to begin, and both sides came. Entering the fight is number 18, Chun Tianji and Jing Zhu against number 1, Lu Fan and Jianing. The students started shouting that there were 2 dragon tamers, and 2 of the best on one team. A battle of the strongest, a battle of the dragons. Zhu asked in surprise, Fan and Ing are on the same team? Fan remembered the conversation about the division and showed that everyone can achieve good results. But suddenly Chiu told him that no. She and Ing should take first place. Therefore, the top 2 should work together. Z said that they don't want to drag them down, and Chiu told him not to worry. She and Z can handle it. On the podium, Chiu was shouting at Fan to take first place. Fan asked Ing during the conversation, there won't be a gap, right? Ing looked and replied, of course. Fan walked into the waiting room and opened the chest to see that he had several treasure maps, and he would now take a look at what was what. Ing asked him if everything was okay. Fan suddenly became surprised and replied that everything worked out. Ing looked and did not understand what was happening. Fan saw and had not heard of such a thing before. Fan told Ing that it was their turn. They couldn't lose. Ing asked before the battle began. They said that the enemy team also had a dragon tamer. Is that true? Fan asked, what? She wants to compare them. Now they will see who wins. Ing asked him if he will call assistance. The guy answered, of course. Fan looked and said that in the forest he found that they had similar abilities. And if he wins, all his stats, okay? The judge said the battle had begun. And Chun immediately took his spear in his hands and rushed to attack. Chun said, finally, he's been waiting for a chance to fight him for a long time. And now there's only one dragon tamer left. And it's him. But suddenly, at the moment of his attack, Chun was surprised that the guy disappeared in front of him. Fan said that if he refused, there would be no other chance. Chun told the guy that his partner was not participating in the battle. So how should he understand that? Fan replied that there was no point in her engaging in battle. He could handle them alone. Zhu began to laugh and said that his plans were not destined to come true. And he is too arrogant and she wants him gone. Chun immediately ordered the earth dragon to attack. The dragon immediately carried out his master's order. Fan looked and said that his dragon had different fangs, and he would now help him align them. Fan took his sword in his hands and, rushing at the dragon, cut one of its fangs. He used the dragon bite, which absorbs the dragon's energy, to deliver a powerful blow. The students were very surprised and asked if they had seen it. Fan stopped the dragon single-handedly, maybe because it was a dragon of the earth. The boy replied, what difference does it make? A dragon is a dragon. How can a human defeat such a powerful creature? Zhu asked his man what he was doing. Let him kill him. Chun replied that he would carry out the order. Chun immediately ordered his dragon to do the cleanup. He thought that they were both dragon tamers, so he didn't have much of an advantage. But if he attacks with 2 skills at the same time, he definitely won't dodge. But at the moment of attack, everything changed and he missed. Fan asked, does he think this will work with him? Ing saw that the characteristics of the earth dragon are quite high, but Fan even dealt with him with his bare hands. Chun immediately called him trash and told him to leave. Zhu replied that not only did Fan not summon his dragon, but his teammate was also just standing there. Zhu said that they were a real disgrace in the eyes of others. Do you think she will tolerate this? Or will she let him into her state with such skills? Do you dream of becoming the strongest dragon tamer? Let him not even dream. and she won't let her reputation be lost. Fan wondered if this was the skill that could turn people into monsters. And now it turns out that Zhu used him again, and she's much more serious than last time. The students started asking, what happened to the Earth Dragon? It was like he had gone wild, and teammate Chun had strengthened him. And it looks like she's a student from overseas, and Fan still hasn't summoned his dragon. It looks like he'll have no choice now. Fan told Ing that he could handle it himself, and that he should remember their agreement. Ing began to deny it, but the guy replied that he had already seen this skill. Zhu told Chun that it was a distortion of height and strength, and told him to stop playing with it already. The boy replied that he was listening. Zhu said she would take his black dragon. It will be hers. Let her just summon it. Suddenly, the princess began to laugh and asked if his characteristics were enough to fight this form of Earth Dragon, and now they would see what he would do. Fan immediately summoned Dragon Magic, the wrath of the Ice Dragon Lord. The disciples began to say that it had become very cold here. And it turns out that this is the Fanya Dragon, much cuter than the Chun Dragon. But some began to say that no, it's just an illusion. It must be a magic skill. Zhu asked, does that mean Lu Fan is able to attack both physically and magically? Fan replied that he agreed. His technique increases the target's stats. But who told her that he couldn't handle it? And then if she so badly wants to take his dragon, and immediately pounced on her to hit her so hard that she sat down in her place. Chun arrived in time and set down his weapon and told the princess to be careful and use the Earth Dragon attack. Fan looked at everything and used dragon magic. It was the roar of the Blue Dragon Lord. The students began to ask, the roar of the Lord of the Blue Dragons. And wow, Fanya used magic again. And this is not ordinary magic. It only works on dragons. He reproduces the technique on the dragon, although he does not summon his own. And it seems that this is the end of Chun. Chun looked and didn't understand. How could this be? They were both tamers, but why was there such a difference in strength? Fan said that from the beginning he was thinking, why didn't he use any other skills except attacking the Earth Dragon? Zhu asked Chun, what is he doing? Let him make the dragon fight. Fan said that the Dragon Spear and the Dragon Fang Strike are only slightly different from each other. The weapons are different, but the skill is essentially the same. Fan asked, but why doesn't he use Dragon skill specifically, like Dragon Claw and Dragon Impulse? Chun thought in surprise, Dragon Claw? Dragon Impulse? Could this be his original skills? Zhu started screaming that he was trash, just like Chui Hongtai. He couldn't do anything. Fan replied that it seemed like his contract hadn't revealed all the skills he needed. Let him give up. He has no chance of winning. The difference between them is too big. Chun got angry and said enough. Fan said that he does not hate him, and he has no reason to. Don't give in. Don't be her slave. Chun got angry and told him to stop. He was preventing him from taking the title of the strongest dragon tamer. Yes, he has no self-esteem, and told the princess to use it. Chun asked her to use her technique on him. He would give his life to avenge him. Zhu laughed and replied that he was right, and this was his very last chance. Chun replied that he would listen. Fan asked, where did he get such loyalty to Jinju? He knew what she was like. Chun asked him, what did he even know? Without the princess, he would be just trash. And all this for the princess. He will protect her at any cost. He actually agrees to everything. Zhu started laughing and shouted at Fan that he was finished. Chun pounced on him and shouted at him to die, and used the dragon spear against him. Fan replied that he felt sorry for him, and used the thunder of the wind spirit. Chun didn't expect this turn of events, and was very surprised. Fan didn't stop there, and used his Dragon Fang Strike. Chun failed to complete his task, and seeing that he could not complete it, he apologized to the princess. Zhu asked the guy what he was planning. Don't be so arrogant. His brother is #1 in the country. If he dares to lay a finger on her, he's done for. But Fan did not spare her and punched her in the face, saying that her brother was in her debt. The students began to ask what's wrong with this Fan. Why humiliate an already defeated opponent? That's right. She's an innocent girl. Fan said he was wondering if she could return home. And suddenly the deputy said for everyone to be quiet. He declared the competition over. Team Fan and Ing wins. The deputy told Fan to come to his office and let her continue her preparations. The deputy began to say that he had been wondering why he had such hatred for the Jean family, but then he learned of the circumstances of their relationship. But the arena was no place to settle their differences. Fan replied that the deputy had seen what had happened to Chun. Ji had used him for her own ends. The deputy said to stop talking about it already. Let him read why he was called. They saw his performance. Therefore, he advises to refuse further participation. Fan asked with surprise, refuse? He does not suit him. The deputy replied that, on the contrary, he had shown himself to be very good, so there was nothing more to prove and no one to prove. And these are the highest level secret realms that the university specially found for him from the Secret Realm Hunters Guild. Fan looked and understood that the Hunters Guild had good abilities in finding the necessary information. And after completing the Secret Kingdom, it gives out very generous rewards, quite good. The deputy said that the hunters of the secrets of the kingdoms put the kingdoms they find up for auction, where they then fight for the opportunity to pass. If he likes something, let him know, they will fight. Fan looked and said that the rate was too high. The deputy replied that Longzhou University always kept its promises and made maximum use of the allocated resources. Fan immediately showed it and said, "Here it is." The deputy was surprised and asked, did he find something suitable? Fan told Deputy Zhao what he had chosen, and the next day a rematch took place. And in the first round of their rematch, it will be the number 1 team Fan and Ing against the number 3 team Feng Yun and Zian. And suddenly the deputy said that they should allow him to announce the withdrawal of Fan and Ying's team from the competition. The students were very surprised and began to ask, Fan refused to perform? After all, they only came for him. Z heard everything and said how irritating this gossip was. Xiao told her not to listen to it. The boys must be entering the secret realm already. Arriving at the giant jungle outside Phylong, Fan said that he asked her for forgiveness for having to follow him. In reply that she didn't care because the places would remain theirs and they would also make a payment of 10,000. Isn't that wonderful? And she is grateful to him for leading her into this kingdom. He will take the rewards for himself. The experience points he has gained will be enough for him. Fan replied that he understood. He does not like to remain in debt. But suddenly a boy appeared on the tree and shouted for them to come to him. Fan was surprised and asked who was there. And suddenly a guy came down and told him not to be so nervous. He's from the Secret Realm Hunters Guild, and his name is He Shu. Fan said they were from London University, so he was the person who was supposed to see them off. Shu replied that they would go then, since they were already here. He would take them to the teleportation gate and then rest. And it turns out their university is rich. And what level are they? Fan answered that he is 25 and Ing has 24. Shu was surprised and asked, only 25? Is he sick? This is a secret kingdom of a nightmare level. People under 55 don't go there. Shu picked up the phone and said that he would contact London University. There must have been some mistake that couldn't be sent there. Fan looked and told them to waste their time. And suddenly a bright light appeared above him. They started to run away quickly, and Fan immediately used the Blue Dragon Lord's Roar. Shu asked in surprise, what kind of skill is this? Is it really level 25? It was a level 50 demonic wing dragon. Fan told Shu that level was not an indicator for them. Let him lead them. After all, there was no time to waste. Shu agreed and told them to go. When he arrived, he said that this was the entrance to the Phylong Cemetery. Fan looked and replied that it was coming out. That was where the portal had been hiding all this time. Shu said that his job was done. But suddenly Fan told him to stop, and holding out his hand, he asked if they could become friends. He was a hunter of secret kingdoms. He must know a lot. Shu asked in surprise, does he know much? Fan replied that of course, but he won't be left without a reward. Shu asked, what does it mean he wants to buy information from him about the exact location of the secret kingdoms? I mean, geographically? Fan replied that the Secret Realm Hunters Guild would not give him information about other realms. and that he only asked for directions to where they were currently heading. He would show them the right path. That's all. Shu said that the information was worth 100,000. That was the price of friendship. Fan shook hands and said that he agreed. Shu wondered how much money Lundy University had, but Ing, who had passed through the portal, told him that they were talking too much. Fan said that it was something like this. He understood that the treasure map was located at the top of that sacred tree. Ing asked the boy if he felt it. An earthquake. Fan replied no, it was dragons. The system immediately showed him that they were level 50 rotten dragons. Fan told Ing to prepare to attack. Ing immediately used the mountain-crushing attack, but Fan saw that nothing worked and ordered Xiao to come out. Xiao immediately used the lava tribe attack, but Ing didn't hesitate and attacked the bloodshed blade. In the moment of battle, Ing shouted for the army's destructive blade to come, but the dragon did not lag behind her, and she saw that she would not make it in time. But Fan saw this and decided to help. He immediately went after the dragon and used a dragon bite. After the attack, he shouted at Ing to immediately grab his hand. Ing managed to grab his hand, and the guy softened their fall with his blade. Fan told her to be careful. After all, their target is not on Earth. Ing smiled and replied that he saved her again. After saving Ing, she felt something again and asked, "More dragons?" Fan answered, "No," from above, and he hid her from the dragon. Fan immediately asked Xiao to fight him. But in that moment, she looked at the huge dragon. The bone dragon opened its big mouth with Xiao. Ing was surprised and said that she was there. Ing said that the mad bone dragon ate Xiao. Fan said that she was fine. He would help her, and she should continue walking. Ing tried to stop him and said that the mad bone dragon was very dangerous. Fan shouted at Xiao to take the form of a destroyer dragon. Xiao was in the dragon's mouth at this time, and upon hearing the order, she immediately began to transform, and the bone dragon's mouth began to glow. The bone dragon didn't understand what was happening, but Xiao turned into a destroyer dragon and tore the enemy's mouth apart. Ing was surprised and realized that Xiao had another form, but she didn't expect this from Fan. At the moment of the attack, Fan ordered Emerald to use the blessing of the Emerald Dragon. Emerald immediately used the blessing. Fan ordered her to stay close to Xiao. Fan charged at the dragons and used the terrifying roar attack. He descended after its destruction, but was suddenly surprised. After all, the bone dragon's eye began to glow and immediately took on its current form. Fan turned around and asked if he was dead yet, but suddenly he saw the weapon pierce the dragon's head. Fan asked why she was coming here, and suddenly he saw Ing flying on the weapon. Ing said that she was fulfilling her part of the deal. He defeated Chen single-handedly, and, as they had agreed, she would tell him the secrets of her class. Fan said he agreed and ordered her to prepare for the strike. Ing replied that once a swordsman reaches level 5, he gets one weapon, and she has this fiery sickle, and immediately applied the explosion of negative karma. Her power was so great that her sickle created fire. Fan was surprised and now understood that it turns out that this is what swordsmen can do. They can get different weapons to gain new abilities. Fan told Emerald that it was their turn. She immediately accepted the blessing of the Emerald Dragon. Fan immediately ordered Xiao to use Earth Rupture. They defeated the Bone Dragon and raised their levels. And she understood that despite the fact that she used her technique, the main damage was still caused by the dragon. Ing apologized to Fan and said that she couldn't even move from the spot. She and Xiao were able to defeat the boss themselves, and she didn't help at all. Fan replied that everything was fine. In any case, she had worked very hard today. Besides, it was thanks to her that the emerald rose to level 15. Ing asked in surprise, level 15? So, she got an upgrade? Fan replied that upon reaching level 15, the emerald gained the ability to take new forms, just like Xiao. Fan said that he thought it would be difficult to achieve transformations, but despite his young age, he was probably wrong, and they decided to try the emerald form. Ing started to walk away and said that she suggested moving slowly, and suddenly, unexpectedly, A barrage of fire attacks fell upon them. Ing said it was a magic attack. Fan replied that they should all be careful. Hiding, he said that it seemed like the Mad Bone Dragon wasn't the main problem. It only attracted other monsters. Fan looked at the system and told the Emerald to enter the Soul Light form and help Xiao. Running, he ordered Xiao to cover them and suggested to Ing that they climb the sacred tree. The system immediately showed that Emerald had accepted the first transformation of the Emerald Dragon, the Soul Light form. Ing turned around and said that the Emerald's blessing effect was so powerful. Fan replied that yes, it had quite good stats. Fan thought that the Destroyer form combined with the Emerald Dragon Soul Shelter increased her strength. It was already more than 26,000. And he wants to climb the tree as soon as possible and give Xiao the dragon's inspiration. Then her strength will increase to 30,000. Fan told Xiao not to resist and go forward, and ordered her to absorb the damage. And then I told Emerald to use air damage. She immediately obeyed and attacked with air damage. The dragons began to fall, and Ing asked in surprise, "Is this an Emerald skill?" Fan replied that it is. The Soul Shelter not only protects Xiao, but also accumulates damage for a counterattack. Ing actually thought that leveling up a dragon was similar to leveling up a weapon, but it's completely different. Even with hidden techniques, she's still a long way from Fan. But suddenly they stopped unexpectedly, and Fan said that they were almost there. Ing immediately answered him that there was a dragon made of steel bones. The dragon immediately took the blow with the steel bone and dealt 10,000 damage. He immediately pounced on Xiao. Ing said that he looks very much like a Mad Bone Dragon, and we need to help Xiao. Fan told her not to worry. Fan immediately ordered Emerald to prepare for Soul Shock, and then ordered Xiao to use Dragon Pulse. By using 2 attacks at once, they were able to reduce the Steel Bone Dragon's life a little. But everything went wrong, and the dragon revived, attacking the boys, and said that things were bad. He was coming here. Ing understood that even if she was weaker than them, she still had to contribute, and she used the explosion of negative karma. Ing looked at it and told the guy that she hadn't done any damage to him. Fan replied that it was fine. She had helped him a lot. But suddenly, Ing shouted at him to dodge. Fan immediately called Emerald to come to him. Fan immediately attacked the dragon with his sword and used Dragon Bite, which absorbs the dragon's energy to deal a powerful blow. And after the victory, Fan told Xiao that she had finally reached level 20. Ing replied that the Emerald was already strong at level 15, and Xiao, at level 20, was able to deal with the Steel Bone Dragon alone. She was afraid to imagine what would happen next. Fan replied that he thought Xiao had no trouble dealing with the enemy. Well, it was time to continue on his way. Ing suddenly started laughing. Fan asked what was wrong. She replied that she remembered a phrase. Ing repeated Z's words that with such a strong dragon, he would kill everyone in his path. Fan laughed and replied that it turned out that he could joke. Not like her. Ing said that he must have changed her. After all, they had been going out together for a long time. Fan said that she was more talkative now, and that was great. When he first saw her, he thought her voice was very nice. Ing asked in surprise, was her voice pleasant? Fan replied that of course, and she was very cute. Had no one ever told her that before? Ing replied that she didn't. She rarely communicated with people, and she didn't have any friends. Fan said that they shouldn't talk about sad things. It would be better to continue on their way. But Xiao and Emerald began to quarrel and even fight. Fan saw this and got angry and ordered them to disperse. Ing said that after defeating the dragon, she reached level 25. Fan asked if she had unlocked the weapon. Ing showed and answered that he Manhwa increases agility, quite useful. But she is only at level 1. Fan accepted this and said that he congratulated her on reaching level 25. Ing knew that even if she improved all her blades, she would hardly be as strong. But will she ever be able to do the same damage? She thinks Fan's teammates are always under pressure because they are compared to him. Ing said that if others repeat it, she will believe it. Fan asked in surprise, will she believe it? He thinks that after the rise of the Manhwa blade, she will have no equal, and said that they had to go already otherwise it would get dark soon. But suddenly they saw a corpse, and he asked, "What is it from the research camp?" Ing replied that it looked like they had been dead for a long time. Fan realized that they were all warriors, and they had been killed a long time ago. Had someone set up an ambush for them? Fan told Ing that he thought there were monsters here, so she should be careful. Ing asked, "Does he mean this is an ambush?" Suddenly, a level 60 bronze dragon crawled out of the bushes. But then came a level 65 three-headed elemental dragon. Fan was surprised and realized that there were two bosses at once. Ing said that it turned out that they had been hiding all this time. The three-headed dragon immediately attacked them with triple manius and activated the skills at once. Xiao immediately pounced on them, and her powers didn't even work against him. And the dragon used bronze armor. Ing said that the bronze dragon gave the three-headed one bronze armor. She thinks Xiao won't be able to strike. And so we need to deal with the bronze dragon. Fan told her to relax. He had an idea and ordered her to summon Manhwa. The system immediately showed that the transformation of the emerald dragon was used, the form of light and soul. Fan told Emerald to take the form of soul light and activate soul shock, and Xiao to take the form of world destroyer, and they rely on her. But Fan saw that the dragon was able to dodge and even attacked. The guy immediately ordered Xiao to use the new skill pressure. Xiao immediately activated all her powers. Use stun, fear, and immobilize. Ing suddenly covered her ears and asked, "Is Xiao's pressure so strong? Her head is splitting." Fan replied that she should be patient. It will be over soon. The system showed that after the soul shock, she would gain 12 energy points. Fan told Xiao that the bronze armor had been penetrated. Let her act. Xiao immediately began to fight them and destroy everything in her path. Fan removed Ing and told her to be careful. She was about to spit fire. After defeating the bosses, Fan said that they had worked hard. There was still a lot to learn from Xiao. Ing was sad and felt that she couldn't help again, and she was afraid that Yunbei's genius wasn't that useful. Fan said that all the heads had to be killed, and he suggested that Xiao should do this, and they would rest for now. Before going to bed, In told the boy that Sister Han had left something here and offered him something to eat. But looking around, she saw that there was no one. In thought that apparently number 2 was not yet up to Fanya. Fan looked at the system, and it said that he had found a treasure. He apologized and saw that he had come here for a treasure map. Entering the treasury, the soul of the Dragon King of level 70 appeared in front of him. Fan was very surprised that the strongest boss in the Nightmare Realm was level 70. Fan said that he shouldn't be underestimated, and now he needs to be defeated. But at this time, the Dragon Soul was already heading to attack them. But at that time, Ing understood that he was saving her again and again. Was he still not tired? Ing accepted that she could no longer retreat. And Yunbei's genius should have surpassed the Dragon King long ago. Ing wondered if she could do it. Even if she wasn't as strong as Fan, it didn't matter. Fan knew that level 70 was quite difficult. It was very dangerous. And he ordered Xiao to prepare for the lava flame. The system immediately showed that the skill was activated and immediately attacked the soul dragon with its flame. Fan then immediately ordered the emerald to activate the eternity form. But suddenly she saw the blades and asked, "What is this Manhwa?" Ing immediately shouted that she would help him. She used her attack, 1,000 blades fall. She shouted at him not to worry. She could help. Fan accepted this and replied that he understood. At this time, Emerald unlocked the life pulse skill and then the eternal defense. Xiao immediately ordered her to activate the life pulse. Fan knew that this was a good skill for him, considering that it improved 2 techniques at once. The effect of the techniques increased even more. Fan shouted at Xiao to finally finish him off. At this time, he immediately used the Dragon Tongue. He directed his full energy at the dragon and used the Blue Dragon Lord's roar. Ing was very surprised and immediately realized what it was. Fan said that here is the Forbidden Dragon Tongue. It is about to activate its skill. The Forbidden Dragon Tongue was fully activated. Fan realized that they were going to get into trouble and shouted at Emerald. Fan asked Ing if she was okay. Ing replied that if it weren't for Emerald, they would be dead. Fan said that yes, the Emerald's eternal protection was a real salvation for them. It's good that it has the ability to self-heal. Xiao got really angry at that moment. Fan replied that they couldn't have done it without Xiao, of course. Ing said that she always thought that if the opponents were too different in level, for example, one was 20 and the other was 30, then they would not be able to fight. Apparently, she was very much mistaken. Fan replied that yes, it was his first time fighting a level 70 boss. It was like he had an epiphany. He told Ing that he actually came here for some things, not to kill the boss. Ing replied that everything was fine, it didn't change the essence. And in any case, she was flattered. Now she would like to tell him that he was very strong, but she was not going to lag behind either. Fan was very surprised when he opened the chest. He noticed that the chest contained a legendary item. So, now all the effects imposed by the dragon are removed. But the second subject, he can't call it a very useful skill, but it's also good, of course. But the dragon becomes a mount. So once Xiao reaches level 30, he can ride it. After receiving all 3 items, Fan felt that these were good props, but it was a pity that the number of uses was limited. Ing asked Fanya if he was done with the awards. Let him look at the Emerald. What's wrong with her? Emerald has found the source of life, and thanks to her friendship with the dragon, her health and the health of her allies will be restored. Fan came up and asked, Emerald? Looking around, Ing said that she heals trees. Fan said that the source of life can heal allies, so the trees are the Emerald's allies? Seeing something strange, Ing asked if this was the start of a hidden task. Fan replied that it seemed like the Emerald was able to communicate with plants, probably some additional point in completing the task. Fan looked and found that it looked like they needed to kill one of the dragons to complete the task. And the level of the Dragon Lord is much higher than the Nightmare. Most likely, you will have to try very hard, and the task is not limited in time. But to complete the task, you need to be from level 60 to 90. Fan told the Emerald that it was not bad. If it were not for her, they would never have found out about the secret mission to heal the tree. And suddenly something came to his mind, and, taking out the object, he asked Emerald if she could absorb it. Fan said that it doesn't mean that he feeds her everything indiscriminately. It's just that the Emerald has special skills that help it merge and enhance its abilities. But if she can't swallow it, just let her forget it. Not everything always works out. And suddenly she saw what she had eaten. Ing asked in surprise, does that mean she can really do that? Fan looked at the system and said it was beautiful. And now Emerald will be able to summon 2 Dragon Lords. Now it's her skill, so the number of summons is unlimited. The system showed that the soul of the Dragon Lord is level 18. Ing said that the boss has become a summoned beast, surprisingly. Fan said that the body size has greatly decreased. Now Emerald has his own pet. Ing was surprised and thought, is this really a dragon's pet? And the guy is becoming more and more surprising. Ing said that he must be tired of clearing such a high-level realm. They had better go back. Sister Han must be worried. Fan replied that she should go and he would follow. Opening the system, he realized that he had unfinished business. At London University, in the house at number 1, Fan said that they had spent so much time together and thought it was time to clarify. Fan asked Xiao why she didn't stop bullying Emerald. Why not act like normal sisters? And Emerald also constantly makes fun of Xiao. Isn't it time to stop and switch his attention and care to the new member of the family? Fan showed the egg and said it was time, and suddenly he got angry and asked, are they even listening? Apparently they are in a hurry, but they don't even think about it. Fan said that this is a future member of the family, and now they should give her a warm welcome. He thought that it was a star dragon egg, and this was already the 3rd dragon. I wonder if it was a boy or a girl. Fan used his powers and said that it was strange the technique worked. He understood that she had 2 dragons, but to get the 3rd one, she would have to reach level 30 and open it. Fan said it won't be easy, and it looks like they'll have to go to the poisonous forest to move on to the next level. In the meantime, they need to take a break. Cho asked Fan, is he back? Let it get up already. The guy opened the door and asked what happened. Chiu showed the newspaper and said that this post had already spread all over the university. Fan asked, did they wake him up to show him some post? Chiu replied that this post about his departure, the entire forum has already read it. Fan asked in surprise, Fengyun Pavilion? Chiu replied that initially this pavilion did not exist, but then numbers 3 through 6 united to form a large team, which has now grown and now numbers about 30 people. But the pavilion is led by Jiang and Jing. Fan said that he was the real number 1. But why did everyone think that Jiang Fengyun was number 1? Z replied that this Jiang said that he was ready to win back his first place and wanted to fight him in a fair fight. Chiu said that only the number 1 can participate in the selection of players for the national tournament. Apparently, Jiang really wants to go there. Chiu realized that this was exactly why he needed to win first place. She said that he was a real scoundrel. He took advantage of his absence and caused a stir. Z said that they should stop this idle chatter. It would be better to hurry up and report everything to Jianing. Fan said that then let Fengyun Pavilion try to resist him. Chiu asked what he meant by that. Fan replied that they should lend him the thing for a while. He wanted to strike back. At this time, in Longdu University, in the VIP arena, Su Jing had a hidden class and was a magician of forbidden techniques. Suddenly, Jing stood up abruptly and told Brother Jiang that Fan had answered. But at this time, he was training with his eyes closed. But he did not train alone, but with real warriors. He immediately applied his multiple attack technique. The guys were surprised and said, where did Brother Jiang get this skill from? Where did such movements come from? He can't keep up. Jiang easily knocked them all out and told them to heal them. And what about Lu Fan? Jing replied that he had posted the message and he had better see it for himself. Jiang said that he was crazy. He thought he could take out everyone in the pavilion. Jiang told his servant to tell him to come to the arena tomorrow. Jing asked his brother, will they fight Fan? Jiang replied, of course. Let all the pavilion members come. He wants to defeat everyone, so be it. He wants everyone to understand who is the real number 1 here. Everything is relative. And at this time, Chiu was telling Fan that Jiang was ready to fight. And she heard that Jiang would be participating in the semi-finals today. Would he like to watch? Fan replied that, to be honest, he didn't care about his abilities. He would have to go to the secret realm anyway. And here he didn't have to go far. Could told Fan that arrogance will not lead to anything good. It is better to know what the enemy is capable of. Z replied that it is exactly so. So it is better to go. Anyway, they have more supporters than him. Chiu told the guy that now that he was a real celebrity on the forum, rumors might spread if he started to spy on Jiang. Ku suggested that he should do it quietly then. Arriving at the arena, Z asked if Jiang was participating in the next round. Chiu replied that she thought so. Otherwise, so many people from the pavilion wouldn't have come. At this time, Ku was asking if Auntie had dressed him well. Now no one would recognize him, even if they looked. The deputy picked up the microphone and said that the semi-final was about to begin, but Fan immediately stood up and started to leave. Ku asked Fan where he was going. The competition was about to start. Fan replied that he was not interested. He wanted to take a walk. Let them call him when it was over. The deputy said that the teams were invited to play in the semi-finals. He decided to go to the director. Knocking on the door, the deputy asked the director if he had seen the latest forum posts. What did he think about it? He was talking about Fan and Jiang. The director told him to just let Gu Han continue observing without interfering himself. Zhao said he felt Fan was too strong. He shouldn't fight. He was worried that something might happen. After all, Chen was still recovering. The principal told Zhao that the vice principal was thinking too much. He had better worry about himself. They needed a person in a month. They had to decide whether Fan could handle representing them in the competition. Fan asked in surprise, in a month? So soon? Director replied that the national test would be held earlier than scheduled. Is Fan ready? Zhao replied that Fan would soon be promoted. Let the rector consider all the peculiarities. In fact, he thinks that everything should be contacted and decided with the envoy of Qian. The rector said that the vice-rector was not well informed. because Qiansu was no longer an envoy. After all, the envoy now is Chun Beihua. Zhao thought that Mr. Qin mentioned him when he talked about Jin Zhu and Fan. Beihua once resigned. He knows about Zhu and Fan. He thinks that the relationship with him is not the best. The rector said that he had previously held very high positions, but after multiple demotions, there was nothing left but to become an envoy. The rector asked in surprise why he was silent. Zhao immediately replied that he was apologizing. Zhao told the principal that if he was an envoy to the national test, he was afraid that Fan would not be able to go far. The principal replied that Fan was already their candidate. Did he understand what to do? Zhao replied that yes, he would help him to get promoted as soon as possible to compensate for his lack of level. But tomorrow there will be a battle between Fan and Jiang. What does the master think? The rector asked in surprise. What? He himself will come and see. He cannot miss such an event. At this time at Lund University, in the connection room, the boys were asking how much longer the boy would lose. Wasn't this the 100th time? And it must be that only the truly powerful can go there. You clearly have to be over level 29. The beaten guy told the guys that they better not go there. It's pure hell there. The guy knocked and asked who the owner of the room was. Do they know him? And this guy is so familiar, but he can't remember. At this time, Fan was thinking that it would be better for him to go to the poisonous forest than to rot here. But suddenly someone appeared in front of him and walked towards him. Suddenly, a beautiful girl appeared from the darkness, greeted him, and asked if he wanted to fight her. Fan greeted her. The girl started laughing and said that her level was much higher than his, so he should be more polite, then he would not get hurt. Fan replied that there was no need for that. The girl asked, really? And she wouldn't be nice. Fan immediately realized that this girl was definitely not as simple as she seemed, and she immediately rushed to attack him with her fire powers. But at the moment she said that she was not like the others, and he has no shortage of strength. Fan repelled all her attacks and felt that she was strong. But what level was she at? The girl said he blocked it well. His attack didn't hit her. Is he afraid of hurting her? And it's better to be on guard, otherwise she might teach him a lesson. Fan replied that he understood, and immediately they began to fight as if in a real battle, and neither gave in to the other. The guy behind the door said she was very strong. Wouldn't that be a problem? The other guy said to be quiet. No need to shout. They were still fighting. At this time, the judge said that the match was over. The boys looked and answered that Jiang's battle was over. The judge said that Jiang and Jing's team won. Jing told Jiang that the guys from the pavilion said that fans secretly came over to watch their battle. Jiang replied that he didn't expect anything else. In fact, he didn't even show half of his strength, and he thinks Fan is impressed. Jiang shouted to the entire crowd that Fan didn't have much time left. He wouldn't have a chance at tomorrow's competition. Z said that it was time for them to leave and turned around and asked where Fan was. Xiu replied that she was leaving. Jiang learned that Fan had come to see. Ku immediately opened the phone and said that it seemed like he had already left and decided to call him. Fan was fighting at this time and reflecting the girl's attacks, thinking, what's wrong with her? Incredible strength. But suddenly the girl took off his cap with her weapon and said that it was not bad. In 15 minutes, she still did not understand his strategy. Fanu actually feels like if she fought at full strength, she would have knocked him out in 2 blows. Why is she acting like this? Who is she? The girl told the guy that his stamina is weak. And anyway, he is very cute. She asked why he didn't show his face. But suddenly he picked up the phone and answered that he was being called. He picked up the phone and told Tata that he was on his way. Fan thanked her for the experience and asked if she could leave him her number before leaving. The girl replied that he had just entered and was already asking for a number. She didn't think he was like that. Fan said no. He just wanted to agree to train together. The girl told him to forget about it. Let him just come into this room if he wanted to meet. Maybe they would see each other again. Fan wondered who she was. Besides, he almost lost. She was definitely not an ordinary student. Maybe a teacher? Is there one at the university? Points were awarded to him. Did she really admit defeat? Fan immediately ran to the stands and shouted to his sister. He thought hard. Where did such power come from? Not only did she not take the glasses, but she also did not give him the contacts. And she also disappeared. Was it a ghost? Ku was shouting at him at this time that they were here. Let him come. Z asked him what was wrong with him. What other sister? Fan ran to them and realized that he hadn't found it, and he had also let it slip. The next day, after the final assessment of freshmen, many people gathered in the arena at Longju University. The students said that there were so many people here, but it couldn't be any other way. This was the final between Jiang and Fan. The girl replied that one person had to fight the entire pavilion. What a weirdo. Jiang asked why Fan was still not here. If he was scared, then they would come to him personally. Let everyone see who was number one here. Jing asked his brother how much longer they had to wait for him, and suddenly he shouted that Fan had come to the arena. Jing immediately told everyone to get ready immediately. Fan apologized and replied that he wasn't late. Was he? Fan ran out with food in his mouth and said they could start. He just had a little work to do. Jiang asked him if Fan had finally decided to show himself. The guy replied that he was not late, that he had come just in time. Fan said that he didn't know how big their pavilion was, but he didn't care. Even if they all attacked together, they could. The big guy started shouting, what a daredevil he is. He thinks he can compete with Brother Jiang? Does he want to die? Jiang said that since he doesn't take them seriously, they won't be nice either. And he gives them 7,000 points. Fan replied that he had completely forgotten about the bet, and he was betting 17,000 coins. Jing told his brother that this was too much. They didn't have enough, but Jiang immediately told him to shut up. Jiang was surprised that the guy was brave. If he could win back those 17,000, then there would be nothing to worry about anymore. He would be able to continue studying for at least 3 years without any worries. Jiang shouted to the entire audience that Fengyan Pavilion was betting everything. It was time to begin. The disciples began to ask, did they really only have 17,000? Fan said that was great. The bets were made. They could begin. Qing replied that it was not right to treat their leader like that. Jian told the guys from Fengyan Pavilion, let them get ready immediately. After giving the order to attack, Qin immediately used the copper lock curse attack. Jian grabbed the guy with chains and said, good job. And now it's their turn to attack. But Fan turned out to be much stronger and easily broke all the chains. He took out his blade and began to defend himself. Jean was surprised that he could still move and grabbed him with one hand and immediately pressed him into the ground. The disciples began to shout that he had killed him with his bare hands. And Jin's control was useless. Is the dragon tamer really that resilient? Jing appeared behind him and immediately used the curse of rigidity. But Fan used his attack and responded with fire. Jiang also had a fire attack and attacked after his friend. Fan asked, are they the leaders of the freshman test? Fan asked, are they really that weak? Jian stood under the boy's foot at this time and asked Qin what happened to his curses. Qin was very surprised and said that it couldn't be. He had given it his all. Fan replied that he shouldn't blame him, that the dragons were just helping him. His stats are high, so skills of this level are useless. Jian immediately dodged his foot and used his multiple attack. The disciples began to speak. He finally began to fight in earnest, and Brother Jiang began to attack. Jin asked, what was the difference between him and Fan? Why did his skills not work at all? Fan told Jian that he had to admit that he was so good. He had won first place, so he would show the difference between him and Chun. Jiang asked what he was going to do. Was it a summoning? And suddenly Fan immediately summoned a dragon. The students started shouting that it was a dragon. So huge, everyone was running from the pavilion. It was time for them to go too. And it turns out it's a real dragon. And it's probably time for them to run. Jian knew it was all over. And this dragon is much cooler than Chen's. A living legend. Jing was scared and shouted at his brother to run away too. Don't stand there. Fan looked at him and said that it was useless to run. Fan said that he was already attacking. Xiao immediately accepted the pressure attack. But the effect was stunning, frightening. Jin began to laugh and felt that he was laughing. And how could he be defeated? He couldn't even move. Jian knew he really had to run. Fan showed the card and asked, "So who is number 1?" And all their points go to him. Fan told Xiao that the task was completed. It was time to go home. In Longdu, the boys were in the scoring room. Xiao said that if it weren't for classes, they would definitely come to cheer for him. "And how is his health?" Fan replied that everything was fine. He'd earned a lot of points. He would definitely share them with them when he returned. It was time for him to go. They would talk later. Opening the door, Fan said that his sister was here. The girl asked, he hadn't been waiting for her all this time, had he? Fan replied that he had been looking forward to their meeting. He saw no point in fighting with others anymore. And after all, her level is over 70. She's not a senior, right? Zhao approached the body and felt the pulse, saying that it seemed like the force of the blow was not weak. But their lives were not in danger. The girl asked the boy if he wanted to fight again. Fan replied that he didn't want to. He just wanted to clarify something. And since she came here, her level is definitely above 700, so she is definitely not a student. The girl asked, "Is that so? And who is he then, in his opinion?" Fan said that she looks young, but her level and strength definitely don't match the characteristics of a student. Must be a teacher? The girl started laughing and replied that he could still call her sister. It's interesting that when he doesn't hide his face, it's much nicer to talk. The girl said that, and one more thing. If he wants to see him here again, let him not set the level above 70. Otherwise, he won't come. Fan laughed and said that it was fine. He thought that it probably wasn't worth setting level 80, but he wanted it that way. The girl said that the technique he used last time, he used it during the battle with Jiang. Fan defended himself and replied that it worked. She was watching his game. The girl said that in just a few swings, he summoned a dragon. Impressive. And his attack speed is quite fast. She appreciated it. Fan thanked her and said that he wasn't very good at close combat yet. The girl immediately attacked and injured his hand. Fan did not have time to dodge and asked why she did that. The girl replied that despite his progress, he was still far from perfect. Fan said that no, she had misunderstood. He just wanted to learn from her. She is very capable. Thanks to her, he won the previous battle, and before that he earned 100 points. And if his sister agrees to teach him, he will definitely succeed. He will be able to learn a lot. The girl started laughing and asked, "Does he want to become her student?" Not bad. It will be better for him to take care of his own training. But if he wanted to learn a few more of her tricks, he could bring his aunt's dishes. Fan said no problem, and there would definitely be no problems with her. Fan said that since she had come, maybe they could see what she had learned, and then he would begin. Fan immediately attacked, but the girl reflected his attack and said that it was not bad speed. And in that case, she will try her weapon on him. She immediately attacked and asked, "And how is he?" The girl said that now the weapon is not under his control. She changed it, and what about him? Fan pretended to be surprised and said that he had been using weapons for a long time, but had never seen anything like this before. The girl pounced on him and asked, "What is he going to do?" Fan replied that he wants the level eliminated. The girl showed him her weapon and asked him if he knew what it was. A very rare and expensive piece of equipment. Fan didn't understand at first and shouted for her to stop. The girl replied that he would regret it and let him die. And in the evening of the same day, Ke said that she thought she and Jiangyun would kill each other. Fan replied that his whole body ached, and she didn't even sweat. Ing said that from her description, she didn't think she was teaching here. Xiao looked at the tablet and replied that Fan was on the forum again. Xiao said that after the battle with the pavilion, she and Xiao became real stars. Ku replied that everyone knew that he had won. Will the arguments die down now? Fan replied that he hoped so. Ing said that she thought that things would only calm down if he took over Fengyan Pavilion. Let him become its new leader. Fan said he had seen this before. He thought they should focus on their goal. Ing asked, "Then what is it?" When Ing went out to battle, she said that he was going out. This was a promotion, but she thought that he was training with his sister. Fan replied, that of course a promotion. He needed to become very strong. He immediately used Dragon Bite on the monster. Unexpectedly, Fan said that he felt it. Here it is. He finally reached level 30. Z asked him what he was waiting for and suggested going to the hall. Ing said that at level 30, you can rise to the second transformation.